And we are live. Welcome to the Political Orphans. My name is Nico Lagan, and I am the in-house conservative. To my left, none other than Rob Ambrose, our token lefty. And together, we talk about what's trending in the news. Our goal is simple. We want to show you that it is possible for a liberal and a conservative to get along. And when we don't get along, you know what we do? We actually debate like polite individuals. Because you know what? You know why? It's very simple. Because common sense should not have a political affiliation. On that note, what's going on, brother?
How's it hanging, brother? Got a Friday, day before the weekend. Nice to see it. Sounds like we got a jam-packed day today.
Brother, it's
Nico said before we went on, he's like, geez, I hope you got nowhere to be. We're gonna be here for a while. I'm like, all right.
Well, you know, the reason why is, you know, I'm a conservative, obviously. Like we talk about this stuff all the time. And what I'm starting to realize more and more with like by recording content with you is that most people are more conservative than they think.
I think
like
so.
Most
That's
liberal
probably right.
have more conservative values than they do. As much as you guys call yourself like progressive and all that stuff, at the end of the day, you guys are still very conservative in certain and a lot of your values. And you know, right now in the US, there's something called CPAC that's going on. So it's the hold on, what does it stand for again? Is the
conservative political
action
conference?
Yeah, that's
conference?
it. So
okay,
conservative political action conference. That's exactly it. And this is not this is not the Republican Party that's doing it, but obviously there's a lot of Republicans there. Like Matt Knowles from Daily Wire was there yesterday. I was invited on another podcast that is live streaming the whole event.
Yeah. Did you end up going on that?
Yeah. I spent.
How was it?
I think I spent 2 hours with. Hold on, what was the name of the guy? I got it right now because he's going. Jason Lavigne.
Jason, yeah,
he's he invited me to go. Super cool dude. Very conservative, more conservative like I am. But
Jesus, there's a more conservative.
No, I'm not saying more. I said he's more conservative, as in like me. He's not a liberal, right?
Yes,
but. I
thought you were saying he's more conservative than you, and I was like, "Wow, that's a thing."
Yeah, well, I guess.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
I guess. I don't know. I know, but he's you know, I think he's part of the PPC somehow.
Yep.
I think
that's how he came across on our radar, or we came on his radar screen, was the Bernier interview.
Yeah, 100%. And I know he's not listening to this because I can see that he's streaming for CPAC right now. But it was very cool to talk to him. But it made me realize something that, you know, a lot of people are not aware of CPAC. Like a lot of people that are not really conservatives are not aware of CPAC. Chances are they'll never see an ad for it. They'll never be targeted for those ads. Yet, as I was sitting there, and as you'll see today, I edited a few videos that I took from the CPAC, from the first day of CPAC yesterday. They're making so much fucking sense. Like if it wasn't labeled as conservative, and instead of calling themselves CPAC, the conservative political, they should just call it the CS PAC, like Common Sense Political Action Conference. Like you could change those two, just add the S after the C and like after the C before the P, just to call it Common Sense. Because everything they were talking about, I'm like, well, duh. And you'll see, like, I got a couple of clips from JD Vance, which we're both fans. I know I'm a fan. I'm such a fan of JD Vance. I can't help myself. I'm like, I really like this guy.
I'm not gonna fanboy. I'm like,
yeah, but I'm close. I'm fucking close. So
I like the guy. I do like the guy. I won't lie. Just kind of what you're talking about there. You know, most people are more conservative than they might think. You know, I think there's something to that. I think us on the left, we get kind of caught up in labels and not really sort of away from the issues. And I'll give you a really good example. Obviously, I strongly diverge from the left in my gender critical views. And if you were to look at polling on gender, if the question is asked like, do you support trans rights or something like that, it's got broad support, especially on the left, like 70 or 80%.
Mhm.
Now, if you ask them specific issues, do you support people born male in women's sports? It goes down to like 20%. Do you support people born male be placed in women's prisons? It goes down to like 20%.
Mhm.
So clearly they're not really understanding the question, because when trans activists discuss trans rights, that is what they're talking about. They are not talking about, not being discriminated against in housing and the job market, which is what a lot of people think they're talking about. And that's why they say it. Even someone like me, very gender critical. I don't want trans people to be discriminated against in the housing or job market. But they just don't understand when they say, I agree with trans rights. That's what they're agreeing with. They're agreeing that men should be in women's sports and men should be in women's prisons. It's just when you separate the label from the actual issues, you actually see there's almost no support for it. So I think that's an example of what I think is probably on the same track. I think there's probably people who absolutely identify as progressive, liberal, myself included. If you ask them specific issues, would probably skew on the conservative side.
And that's exactly my point. So I found it interesting that I don't believe in coincidences. I think everything happens for a reason. It's just a matter of me figuring out why it's happening and what am I supposed to learn from this. So when the guy invited me to CPAC, I'm just like, of course I'm going to go. I'm going to join you. Like, I like this type of stuff. But as I was thinking about it this morning, I'm like, man, probably that most people have never been exposed to it. So I picked up a few things. I have like 3 or 4 videos that I took from it. JD Vance and another group. There was a group of guys called, there was a group, 3 people, 3 panelists that were called the Culture Warrior Take Your Truth. That's the name of the panel. And obviously they're Christians, so they're talking. I removed that part because that's not the point. We've spoken about this before.
Mm-hmm.
But they talk about marriage, they talk about family, they talk about masculinity. And I also got a clip from JD Vance.
Yeah, I was actually
speaking
just
about
masculinity.
Oh
Yeah.
yes.
Well,
Oh,
we're big on that on this show. That's something we
that's
both
why
feel
I was listening
strongly
to this,
about.
and I'm like, we need to talk about this. And I just like the fact that this is a conversation I never hear from the left.
No,
But
no,
more
no.
and more we hear it from the right.
Yep.
And it's just again pure common sense. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, they talk about abortion. Yes, they talk about topics that I don't want to address on here, even though I am against abortion.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the point, right? As we've spoken about this so many times, but I found it very interesting as I'm listening to JD Vance, as I'm listening to that panel. I'm like, man, this removed the conservative part from the title, and you're just like,
yeah,
how can you disagree with that? So this is the question I have for you guys, for the listeners. Have you ever heard of CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Convention? Have you ever heard convention or conference? It's either
conference or convention.
Yeah, either or.
Mm.
It's it's something that lasts 3 days. It was yesterday, today, and Saturday, and even Trump supposedly is closing off the show tomorrow. But all to say, have you ever heard of CPAC? And not the Canadian channel, the American event for conservatives? And if so, what do you think about it? What's your opinion of CPAC? Now, on the menu today, we got a few things. First, we need to talk about Kash Patel being confirmed as the FBI director. If you don't know who Kash Patel is, I got a video. I apologize. It's from Fox. And I do not like the woman that hosts that show. But when it's right, it's right. Like they give a lot of perspective as to why Kash Patel is getting so much hate, because it was close, man. It was like 49-51. It was literally on the party lines. Yeah. It was super, super close. Then there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about. I wanted to show the CPAC video. So I got a video of JD Vance talking about what Doge is doing. There's another video of JD Vance talking about masculinity. And then there's the part that there's the Culture Warrior Take Your Truth It's two men and a woman that talks about marriage. They talk about children. They talk about masculinity. They talk about parenthood. They all tie it up together. And I was like, damn, really, really well done. I removed the whole Christian part because we don't need to talk about this. If we have time, there's one thing I wanted to talk about today as a joke because it's Friday. So I'm always.
Is this the Hooters thing?
Did you see it?
I saw. I didn't see it. You talked about it, but I wasn't quite sure where you're going with that. It could be anything, really.
It happened yesterday as I was on the CPAC thing. I was scrolling through my X as people were talking, and I saw a picture. I'm like, oh, motherfucker. And I went, like every day I go to X. You have the explore button, and then you can see what's trending on X right now.
Yep.
And the fourth or fifth thing is just called Hooters, and that's what I'm gonna do. I literally just did trending.
Now,
Hooter.
I just want to clarify for the audience: is that Hooters or is that Hooters?
It's the French version.
Yeah,
Hooters.
It's the Quebecois version. Hooters.
Yes, but it is the Hooters. Yes,
it is. Of course,
it's the.
Who doesn't love a good pair of Hooters?
But a terrible restaurant. The food is fucking garbage. No man out there.
Does anyone go there for the food?
My point exactly.
Yeah.
No men out there will claim to go there because they like the ambiance and the food. No, you're a pervert and you want to check asses.
Yeah,
let's be honest here.
Yeah,
that's how they made money.
Just own it. It's fine.
But I want to show you what happens after 4 years of Biden.
Okay.
Because it is fucking hilarious.
I think I know where you're going with this, but we'll
of course you are. It's just I did not know. And there's one thing. This kind of bad segue. I should have done that before. You sent me a video of what's going on in Palestine.
Oh yeah, it's a bit of a bad segue. Go from laughing it up to Hooters to dead kids through the streets. Yeah.
So for YouTube purposes, this is an entertainment show. We don't know what the fuck we're talking about. We're full of shit. Everything that comes out of our mouth is not true. Especially what's going to come out after the Palestine thing.
Yes.
Because this one, X, I'm not going to get in trouble for this one. Rumble, we're not in trouble for this one. YouTube probably
YouTube
will not like this one.
On this issue? Like I know there's some other issues they're strict on. They're strict on this one too?
They're very strict when it comes to COVID stuff. They're very strict when it comes to Palestine. They're very strict when it comes to you. Well, not really, because if you look at who has been the moderators for so long,
left-wing,
it's all the same
causes. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. That
couldn't
have said it better, brother. That's exactly what it is. But yeah, so we have an interesting show for you guys. Hopefully you're in a good mood. It's Friday. So we're going to try to, I made sure we kept outside of what Rob wants to talk about. I tried to keep it.
Yeah. You've got all this light stuff. I'm like, let's talk about dead babies.
Because I really tried to keep everything light. It's Friday, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to keep it light. Last week we were crying because we were watching military videos.
Yeah. So, can't take me anywhere. I wanted
all good.
Yeah.
But all to say that the point is to be lighter. So please, guys, don't be scared to comment. Don't be scared to engage with us. This is why we do it live. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're thinking. And again, question of the day. Do you know what CPAC is? If you do, what do you think about it? What is your opinion about CPAC? We're going to start with, this has been trending.
Nico, before we start, I'm going to talk about Kash Patel and sort of maybe throw out my own question for the audience, because when you said we're going to talk about this, of all the I think people Trump has appointed as cabinet posts, like Marco Rubio, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK, I've got a pretty good sense of these guys. I know roughly who they are. Kash Patel, I had no clue. Mostly I see is Adam Schiff and Schumer there standing in front of the FBI building.
My video talks about those two people.
Telling us how the world's going to end. Like this guy is the worst thing since sliced bread, if that's to butcher an expression. So what I would ask, especially if you're from the left, is I had to do some research to see what's so bad about this guy, because I don't really know about him. Like if you're a lefty out there, maybe throw it out there. What exactly specifically are the critiques against him from the left? Like why is this guy so bad? Because it isn't really clear to me. I think you said we're going to watch a video that sort of tries to drill down into that a little bit, but yeah, I'd like to hear some for the audience there if they have a take on that. But yeah, let's get started.
Good point. Like, let us know, because you know what I find interesting before I hit that video is that he's a brown guy. Like, when it comes to wokeism or to the far left, he's checking a lot of boxes. So
it made me laugh because I'm like, it seems like the Republicans are the diversity. Racist. You know, they're the ones like Tulsi Gabbard. You've got Kash Patel. You know, Vivek Ramaswamy. Well, he kind of crashed and burned after that infamous tweet. But you know, and the one thing about that is you get the sense that these people, like, obviously there isn't as much DEI on the right, so there is a sense of these people probably actually deserve it. I know when you see it on the left, you just automatically, now this could rightly or wrongly, right? I'm fully aware that this could be an unfair characterization, but when I see it on the left, I'm just like, okay, they're just putting it there for, you know, for the quotas to look good, blah, blah, blah. But when I see it on the right, I'm like, okay, these people probably earn their spot. Now, again, right or wrong, I'm not saying like, you know, I've biased just like everyone else, but that sort of highlights, we talked with Jason on this, on Wednesday, kind of the harms of DEI and how it really hurts the people it's supposed to help. Because even if those people work their ass off to get there, when you make DEI a central plank of your platform, it's just impossible. Your default is to assume they didn't earn it. And I think, you know, that's one of the problems of it.
And I couldn't agree with you more, because it does seem, when you look at the Republican Party, it seems like it's meritocracy. They're like, they deserved it. So I look at, and you know, that's the funniest thing. Before we play the video, I'm just going to say this. Unlike everybody on the left, I see races. Like, stop fucking lying. If you're a brown guy, I see that you're brown. If you're black, you're black. If you're white, you're white. If you're Asian, you're Asian. I see it. That doesn't mean I judge you based on your colors. Yeah. But can we stop with this bullshit of we don't see color? Fuck you. You see colors just like you see me coming. You think I'm racist right off the bat. I know it. This is the style I'm going for. If that's what you think, fucking succeed. I succeeded. I'm winning.
Yeah, but winning.
But in all seriousness, like, can we stop with this? Can we really stop with, like, because
we all have eyeballs, right? We don't need to insult people's intelligence. To me, like, a non-racist society is one who clearly sees race. We just don't give a shit one way or the other, right? Like, and I think we're pretty close to that. Of course, there's still work to be done. Of course, there's still going to be racist people. That's never the metric, because they will always exist. The metric for society is, how does society treat that person? You know, how, like, you know, up in Canada, there's a lot of left-wing activists who will tell us that we live in a genocidal, racist, colonial society, and it's just bullshit. You know, of course there are racists in Canada, but you know what? The racists, they know that they have to hide it at least. You know, if I were down at the superstore here and I go on a racist tirade and call the shopkeep the N-word, I can be pretty sure everyone around me is going to turn on me instantly and say, get this fucking idiot out of here. That's, you know, that would not happen in a racist society, right? So, you know, just to your point, of course we see race, it exists, but like, what's, you know, a true post-racial society is one who just doesn't give a shit. I think most people do not judge people on the color of their skin.
And I hope this is true. And funny enough, as a white guy, the most racism I see is from the left.
Oh yeah,
and it's towards guys. It's towards guys like me. That's the irony of it all, right? But
well, you can't defeat discriminating against people based on the race by discriminating against another people based on the race, right? Like, you can't have good racism, bad racism. That's just it's a nonsensical proposition.
Unfortunately, that's something that's been defended by a lot of leftists for a very long time, right? You cannot be racist against white people. Like, are you fucking kidding me, bro? Are you kidding me? Well, so let's hit this video. It's like 6 minutes. It's actually, but it's legit. Like, again, I apologize for the blonde girl. I cannot remember what her name is, but she drives me absolutely nuts. I do not like her show. But when I show you stuff from the left or I show you stuff from the right, it's all about the content itself, the quality of the content. So I apologize for her, but the video is pretty legit. So let's watch it.
Okay, the party of partial birth.
You can hear that, right?
Yep. Oh yeah, her. I don't like her.
Gender mutilation of children doesn't talk about evil very much, unless they're talking about a Trump nominee.
Kash Patel, mark my words, will cause evil in this building behind us, and Republicans who vote for him will rue that day.
No one is a
White
bigger
guy.
or more dangerous sycophant than Kash Patel. This political hack does not deserve to be in this building.
This is not a distraction. This is a real danger and a real threat.
Oh, yeah, danger?
I'm going to stop it there for 1 second. Can you imagine if 3 white guys from the Republican Party would start talking like that about a brown guy that was a candidate on the left? Can you imagine how different that fucking conversation would have been? Like, this would never happen.
No, because they would immediately call him racist, right? And it's bad faith.
Yep, indeed. Oh yeah, of course, because it's on Fox, it's gonna fucking give me ads. I could not find it in a place to download it, so
Okay, the party.
So hold on, let me move this.
Abortion, pro.
A distraction.
Not only bad political leaders, they're bad actors. Patel's confirmation vote was a stern and beautiful rebuke of the left for its weaponization of the DOJ and the FBI against Donald Trump and conservatives. But Schiff's sweating, not because Patel will be ineffective. He's sweating because the new FBI director is promising investigations into the corruption that's rocked public confidence in the FBI. Now, remember, Biden doled out a lot of preemptive pardons. Remember those?
that's
Remember, Schiff actually got one. Joining me now is Wisconsin.
that's a coincidence.
Senator Ron
Don't worry
Johnson.
about it. Nothing to see
Senator,
here.
why, oh why, is Adam Schiff so worried about Kash Patel?
Adam Schiff is afraid of the truth because he's a habitual liar. Talk about a political hack. He is one, but now he's unfortunately a U.S. Senator. But I fully expect Kash Patel, first of all, to be transparent, which obviously the FBI and Department of Justice was not under President Biden. The American people deserve the truth, and we're going to work very closely with Kash Patel to give the American people the truth, to expose all the corruption, the partisanship within the FBI, maybe even the Department of Justice. This can't go on. We're going to return integrity, restore integrity to the FBI. That is Kash's mission. That's what he told me prior to his confirmation hearing. He wanted to return credibility and integrity to the FBI. He'll send agents out to the field, make prosecutorial decisions out there, outside the politics of Washington, D.C., return to a single system of justice, one for all Americans.
Well, I mean,
Like, up to now, can you really disagree with anything he just said?
No, and I mean something that sort of jumped out to me as I'm watching this is I mean I don't really, at the end of the day, and we've sort of talked about a lot of these nominees. At the end of the day, no, I definitely don't agree with all of them. But elections have consequences. You know, Donald Trump won. I'm a big believer that if a president gets elected, he should have the people that he wants. And if they fuck up, like the way that they're talking about this guy, he's so sure to fuck up. Good. You know what I mean? Good. Because then it's going to come back on Trump. Why would you not, like, this idea that Kash Patel can commit, unfixable damage to the FBI is ridiculous. He cannot cause permanent damage. If he fucks up so bad, then that's going to come back on Donald Trump. It reminds me of sort of this clip I saw on Rogan a while back. It was more just like a motivational clip. I sent it to my son, and it was about that word good. And it showed, I think, an MMA fighter. I'll send it to you later. He's like, you didn't get that job you wanted? Good. You didn't get the girl you wanted? Good. More time to improve yourself. You didn't get that thing you wanted? Good. That whole mindset, that attitude. And that's how I see it. Like, Kash Patel gonna just, destroy the credibility of the FBI? Good. Gonna make Donald Trump look bad, right? Like, from the left, why not take that tactic? So I'm a little skeptical when I see that pretty sad little rally. It's funny because when you look at it there, it doesn't look that bad. It looks like a couple guys, but I think you had shown me the picture earlier where it was zoomed out. It's literally just those 4 guys standing on the steps. There's nobody else there. They don't even have like bought and paid for supporters to make it out to this little rally. It's just a bunch of sad old white guys complaining about the brown guy. And it's not, going by left-wing standards is not great optics.
And This reminds me a bit of Doge. You know, it's only the Democrats that seem to be infuriated by what Doge is doing. And this reminds me of that. I'm like, okay, hold on. You can't be for both. You either are against corruption and wasting taxpayers' money, or you're for it. You can't have both. And the same thing with this. Oh, okay, he's gonna clean house. Awesome. Oh, what? He's gonna go after the deep state. Awesome. He's gonna make sure that the DOJ is never used again against the president just as a witch hunt. Awesome. Good. Why are you complaining about this? And the only reason people can complain about this is that it's not working in their favor anymore. That's all I can see. Like, why the fuck are you complaining about something that's actually good? Because you have something to hide. There's something going on.
And even if I'm a left-wing,
it doesn't look good.
Yeah, you're right. Even if I'm a left-wing politician and, you know, I might be a little worried that he's going to come after me, again, good. Because if I know I'm clean, then I know he's not going to come up with anything and he'll look ridiculous. And then I'll be able to use that against him. You know what I mean? The only reason I'm really worried is if I've got something that I need to hide.
I mean, Hunter Biden, the Biden gravy train. I mean, all the things that we know were given short shrift by the previous administration. Again, remember, there are pardons. They just sprinkle the pardons around. And again, including Adam Schiff got a pardon. Why? But Democrats are still lying, Senator, about what Trump really wants here. Watch this.
Kash Patel is
another
a
white
crown
guy
jewel in this lawless rampage. He's an instrument of Donald Trump's.
Yeah, those four guys, those are the only ones there. If you zoomed out, it would look really ridiculous.
Yeah, but don't talk too loud. He can hear you. See those ears, bro?
Oh, shit, yeah.
Senator, the vengeance tour. Isn't he describing exactly what the Biden administration did?
Yeah.
And before that, the Obama administration?
This is the well-worn strategy of the political left. They falsely accuse their political opponents of doing exactly what they do.
You know, the funniest part, there's a Marxist quote by Karl Marx. Always accuse your enemy of doing exactly what you're doing, because it creates confusion. Mm-hmm. So it's funny because the left has been, like, politically, the left has been very good at doing that. And I'm happy to see people calling them out. I'm happy to see people like you saying, you know, why not give him the chance to expose what's wrong? Like, why do you not want to give him the power to do what an FBI director is supposed to be doing? And as you said, he was chosen by Trump, and elections have consequences, and that's one of them.
Yep, exactly.
In orders of multitude worse. No, they are brazen. They are hypocrites. They were rejected at the polls. They still haven't got their feet underneath them. They're not quite sure what happened to them. What's going to happen to them, though, is the truth is going to be exposed across the board throughout these government agencies. That's why they're screaming so loud with Elon Musk and Doge exposing all the waste, fraud, and abuse within their government. They are the party big government. They use big government to fund their radical left ideology. Hopefully that's coming to an end.
And that's how I see it too. Like what he just said there to me, if you look at what's happening through those, like I was saying earlier, this is exactly it. For the left, it looks so bad to have them like that, complaining at every single little thing that Trump does, saying we're going to destroy government. If there was that much corruption, good. Maybe that type of government needs to disappear. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Well, and even if there's no corruption and they actually are destroying government, good, because now you've got all the ammunition you need to take down the Republicans in the next election. You know what I mean? I don't see the preemptive freak out. You know, it's kind of like the, you know, Sun Tzu, the famous strategic general, a Chinese strategic general. He wrote The Art of War. One of his famous quotes is, never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake. If you really believe that they're doing what they're going to do, what you're saying they're going to do, why would you interrupt that? They're not going. Yeah, good, exactly. They're not going to cause permanent damage to the U.S. government. Come on, and it will give you all the ammunition that you need to take them down in the next election. The only reason that you would be really freaked out is if you personally have exposure that you do not want to be uncovered, and that I'm not saying that is, but if we think that there is, and whether you're righty or lefty, if you think there is some political corruption up and down both sides of the aisle, you need to
Give
get
me
out
some of
more.
that weed.
Yeah,
Give me
exactly.
some of that weed. I need
I'll
that
take some.
weed too.
Yeah, pass that meth pipe or whatever that is. I'll have some of that. And like we've said on this show quite a bit, like my advice to the Democrats: keep your powder dry. It is not, if you believe that they're going to cause all this damage, collect the evidence as they're doing it, and the time will come to make your case. This is not it. All you're doing now is crying wolf, and people are just going to shut you out.
Well, a lot of folks who are watching this, first of all, they're enjoying it thoroughly because the Democrats are back on their heels. But they're worried also that executive orders, while they're great, they can be undone by an opposing administration. So all of that spending presumably could come back if Congress allowed it to come back. I mean, the Congress allowed this to go on as well, refusing to stop funding a lot of these agencies. But so how does some of this get made permanent rather than temporary?
But we have the reconciliation process. I think you're aware of the fact that I've proposed 4 options to bring spending to a pre-pandemic level, somewhere between $5.5 and $6.5 trillion. That's going to defund an awful lot of the deep state. And we start with that. We also have the Congressional Review Act, which is a very powerful act. Some of these regulations that have been acted within a certain time frame, we can undo, we can remove them, and they can't come back. A future president, future Democrat can't put in place those same regulations again when we remove them, repeal them under Congressional Review Act. So we need to be very aggressive. There's, I think more than 50 that are available. We need to be very aggressive about using the Congressional Review Act as well.
Well, another thing that people are very concerned about is, of course, Anthony Fauci, again, received a pardon. But given what happened during COVID, given the lies that were told about the origins of COVID, the corporation with the eco-health plans and the lab, perhaps
informational purposes,
and in funding the very research that led to this pandemic, will Congress and the FBI have a responsibility to really put the truth out about that?
That would probably be my top priority as the chairman of the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigation. We need to uncover the truth, the corruption of these federal health agencies, and in particular, Anthony Fauci, Francis Collins. What do they know? When do they know it? How many lies do they tell the American public? We'll hold them accountable, and that pardon is a double-edged sword for them because now they have no protection of Fifth Amendment, denying, or, not being willing to testify fully and truthfully. So I fully intend to get the full truth exposed in terms of Anthony Fauci and these federal health agencies.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That is something that I did not realize was the case, that if you do have a pardon, you can no longer
you can't claim the fifth. Yes. Because you can't incriminate yourself.
Because you can't be held responsible, accountable,
yes.
but you can be exposed.
Yes, exactly. I think I'm not sure exactly how it works, but they literally, you're not allowed to take the fifth. You will have to answer. And then, of course, perjury laws will still apply as well. So you need to be careful. But that is also why some people, you can refuse a pardon. I mean, that's I don't know the exact Supreme Court, Kate, but it is accepted jurisprudence that you can reject it. And that's one of the reasons why I think some people might reject it. They may not feel like they have legal exposure, but they also don't want it to get out. They want to be able to plead the fifth. So, Fauci might have, it's kind of a double-edged sword. I'm actually going to read that book you keep bringing up, The Real Anthony Fauci.
It's Jason that keeps on bringing it up. Yeah. I've never read it either. I need to read it, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's especially like Jason's a fellow lefty, and for him to say to me, that it really opened his eyes, I think has value. I admit that haven't really dug that deep. This was back a couple of years ago when I was still in the mindset where if it came from the left or the right, you could dismiss it as a conspiracy theory, right? It wasn't worth digging into. Now, obviously, my
wasn't worth your very important time,
precious time. Exactly right. I had more important things to do. I had to
like losing hair was more important to you.
yeah, trying desperately to hang on to it. It's a losing battle, my friend.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. There comes a
The
time,
choir.
but at least you get to the point where you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna just shave it off, because the worst is when you're one of those guys who's like 40. It's like doing the comb over. It's like, brother, nobody's fooled. Just shave it. You look a million times better. But it's every man's journey.
A lot of them, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's you know, this is what made me start creating content. Is exactly that what they were talking about at the end, because I saw this coming in 2020. I knew as soon as they started talking about this, I'm like, oh, I got a couple of calls to some doctor friends of mine. I'm like, what is this? What are we dealing with here? They're like, we've been dealing with this since last year. This is going to become a common cold. This is going to be the next thing we need to deal with. This is not going away. We just have to deal with it. And then you start looking at the information that came out, the fact that those companies are protected. You start looking at who was affected, and like 99.5% of people that died from it were.
Did you ever get it?
Oh yeah, of course, everybody has.
Yeah, I had it
We
once.
all
I had
got
it before I was boosted. It didn't really affect me much. It was just it felt, I was definitely sick for sure.
Yep.
And it was a little worse than it was a bad flu, but it wasn't a whole lot worse. I think it really, see, if you look at the numbers, the breakdown of ages, it like that, you know, what's the overall number is 0.5% fatality rate, but that's heavily skewed because like 80%.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
but
80% of those fatalities.
The people, the 100% of the people that died, basically 99.5% of people that died
was like 70 and older or something.
Two comorbidity. They were already not in great health. So this is the thing, but this was so censored. I was talking about this all the time. I got in so much trouble talking about this. I got my accounts banned for talking about this. And even, you know, I think you're the one that sent me the video of JD Vance on the Joe Rogan podcast this week saying that he's never been as sick as some of those little thingies that he took in the arm. Like, he's caught the COVID 5 times, and he's like, it was nothing compared to the medicine.
I'll tell you the thing that I don't hear this angle talked about as much. So for me, I guess as a lefty, in hindsight, my take on all of this is I'm not convinced that it was like, you know, a diabolical plot or anything. I think it was an attempt, for the most part, in good faith by governments around the world who really had no clue what they were doing. Definitely went heavy-handed on it. And what they have done now is for a virus that really didn't require it. Because if you were like 60 and younger or 70 and younger and in good health, you were essentially had no real reason to worry. But now what they've done is they've sort of scorched the earth here. Now imagine another virus comes out next year. That's an actual serious one that probably you do need to do the kind of response they did, the lockdowns and this and that. You would never be able to do it. Like, there's no political will whatsoever to do that. So we're just going to have to go through it. So essentially they've used, you know, we've used this saying, keep the powder dry. That's a perfect example. They did not keep the powder dry. And now because I mean, you know, viruses are not a conspiracy. They do exist. Some of them are very deadly, right? Imagine you had a virus with the fatality rate of Ebola, but spreads as easily as COVID. I mean, that's a potential civilization ender. That's the kind of thing, you know, you need to save your powder dry. But even if that's the case, if word comes out that it's this serious, no one's going to believe it. They're just going to be like, oh yeah, it's just COVID again. And that's not good. That's not good for society.
Did you see that? Like, since we're on the subject, Canada buys 500,000 doses of H5N1, which is the bird flu vaccine for those most at risk. 500,000 people, 500,000 doses, sorry, have been purchased by Canada, yet there's not one death.
Are you thinking like there's something coming? Is that the
why do you think my hat's on?
Yeah,
that should tell you.
But yeah, it's just YouTube. Whenever you see the hat on, it's just
that
always
means it's just
entertainment.
It's not true. That's not what I think. But here's what I'm going to invite people to do. I've recorded many podcasts that's called Unwoken, with experts, doctors in those fields. So if you want to know what I really think, go check out my Rumble at Real Nico Lagan, and you can see the episodes. I dig deep in those things. It's just that right now I got to be careful. But what do I think about this? Bullshit. It's all fucking bullshit. This is fear mongering. There's just like the first time, it's all crap. And it is all done by really evil people that are trying to control us. This is my humble opinion. But as my friend said before, you know, he doesn't think, my buddy thought that there's nobody in the back end that's pulling the strings, but there's just people that will take advantage of bad situations.
Yeah, I think, yes.
I understand what he's saying. I completely disagree with him, but I can see why people believe that. I have been a conspiracy theorist for way too long to not know that evil people exist. And a guy like Fauci knew exactly what he was doing. This is bullshit. He knew exactly what the fuck he was doing. And that dude should be held accountable. That's all I'm going to say on this.
So Jason jumps in. Yes, correct. If you haven't had your 13th booster yet, you are un-American and you need to go out immediately and get all 13 in the same day. Get caught up immediately. It's obviously a joke. And Jason also, Dr. Peter Hotez said the bird flu pandemic was coming on January 20th. Keep that tinfoil hat on. Well, I mean, it might be, there's, you know, on this show, we've each got them handy in case we need them, but there's also time to take them off. If there's a point when a conspiracy theory is no longer a conspiracy, you know, the lab leak was a tinfoil hat conspiracy, and now it is by the fucking CFA or CIA, the most likely explanation for the pandemic. So can't just dismiss it because the New York Times says it's a conspiracy.
You know, he said June 20th. I'm just trying to see. I was talking about this on, that would have been, does it give me the date? It does not give me the date. But hold on, because I talk about this stuff on my Instagram all the time. So 20th, it would have been before that. So here you go. So we are talking about, when was this? That was 4 weeks ago. So pretty close to what Jason is talking about. And you know what? I don't know if I just share my screen, if it's gonna get me in trouble. But there you go. So the U.S. Health Department just gave Moderna $590 million to accelerate the development of a new mRNA bird flu vaccine. Here we go again. One single American dead from bird flu, yet we're developing a vaccine. Are you going to fall for it this time? I know I won't. Fuck you, I won't comply. And yes,
also, YouTube, that tweet is entirely for entertainment purposes.
I am a comedian. I don't believe in what I say. Everything I say, yeah, I am a satirist, but just to show that you can go through my you can go through my stuff on Instagram, and you know, no, but all I'm saying is, like, you recognize the icons, right? Because I can't use that word on Instagram.
Yes, of course.
But I've been talking about this for at least a month and a half. It's insane. It's just, to me, it's just a total waste. It's insane. And let's say that you're right. Let's say that this was maybe exaggerated. Like, I'll play devil's advocate. As much as I disagree with you, I'll still play devil's advocate. I don't agree with you that they don't have the power to do it, because especially if you look at Canada, there's a lot of people that are still okay with that. And if you look at what Carney has said recently in response to the Trump tariff, he wants to go $1 for dollar on tariff. He wants to put dollar for dollar tariff on U.S. goods, and he will call up emergency act, just like Trudeau did during the pandemic, just the same way he did against the Freedom Trucker, where he was able to freeze their bank accounts, jail them, have people arrested. And again, I was there, just so you guys know, I was at all those protests. So I know that what you saw on TV is all fucking bullshit. I have all the recordings. I could fucking prove what I'm saying because I have it, it's my footage. But all to say that they have the power to do it, and they will use it again. And the worst part, and that is the thing that I started talking about 3.5 years ago, not only do they have these powers, but these powers protect them. They cannot be held liable or accountable after they're no longer in office. And this is the part I don't like. Like, you got big pharma that is capable of putting vaccination out that keeps on getting protected by the government. Like in the US, Biden, just before he stopped being president, extended the protection for big pharma up to 2029. So they cannot be held liable for whatever side effect of that medicine is. Yet there's documents fucking this thick showing how bad it is and how much they knew that it was, that they rushed it, that it was bad. So, you know, it's like the pardons for a guy like Fauci. You are allowed to refuse it. The fact that you didn't, even though that he came up and say, oh, I don't need to be protected, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what, motherfucker? You could have said no. You chose to keep it. That talks loudly. That tells me that you're worried about something, because as you said, if you weren't, but at the same time, how is RFK capable of writing so many books about Fauci and the real Fauci book, yet not in prison, has not had to pay him? Again, you got a pardon. You accepted it. You didn't refuse it. While guys from the January 6th committee that were protected, that were offered a pardon by Biden, they refused it. So it is possible to refuse it. But not only did he take the pardon, but you got RFK that writes a book about him, exposing everything you do, and there's no suits. Like,
yeah. I mean, that's something fishy, because it clearly would be defamatory if he is if it was false. If it was false. And I mean, you know, one of the, you know, not just one of, but the main defense against the defamation suit is truth. If it's true, it cannot be defamatory by law. So I mean, that certainly is a little bit of a, you know, an eye opener / head scratcher. But
you know that the reason he didn't go is because now you're opening up the door to having to explain yourself. Well, so he's like, you know what? I'll take it on the chin because I don't want to go down that road because of what it could actually mean. And especially now that he's pardoned, the Fifth Amendment does not protect him anymore. So he would be royally fucked if he was put in front of a judge. Oh, you're saying that this is false. Awesome. Explain all of this for us, please.
And with a defamation suit comes discovery, right? Which is
exactly
you have to open up all your emails, all your files to the other side. And if you are hiding something, you don't want that to happen. Now, just going to what you said about, you know, whether they can or can't do it. I mean, I guess time will tell. It's hard to say how people feel. I know, you know, me personally, I looked at a lot of that stuff as a necessary evil at the time. I never liked it. But I just sort of went along with it. But I'd be out in the streets this time if they tried it again. I'd be out marching. And I feel like there's a lot of people like me. You know, you had your shot and you blew it. And when it comes to something as serious as that, because I think we're going to look back like 20 years from now, 30 years from now, there's going to be a lot. If you look back at data across the board, whether it's, you know, suicide rates, mental health, kids literacy rates, you're going to see a very weird anomaly in that 2019 to 2021 block. Like, there's a lot. One thing that's not discussed a lot is how damaging those lockdowns were. You know, sure, economically, but just for people's mental health. Like, we are social animals. We need that. And you know, a lot of like what people are on the left are saying, just, oh, you don't want to you're not allowed to go to the bar. So like, fuck off with that shit. It's not about going to the bar. It is about going out and connecting with other human beings in the way that we are designed to do. And you take that away from us, and you take away a lot of what actually makes us human. So to just minimize that as, oh, you can't go out to the bar, you know, it seems like it was a golden age for the weirdos and the loners who were staying home on weekends anyways, right? Because now there's no FOMO, right? Now nobody's going out, everyone's alone, and they loved it. And I think a lot of them just want that back. They love that moment in history. Meanwhile, the other 90% of human civilization is just absolutely suffering, and there was no talk of that. There was no talk of weighing you know, the pros and cons of these lockdowns. And I think a lot of people now realize the damage that was done. They may not be militant about it. Like, they may not be pounding the desk demanding Fauci be prosecuted for his crimes. But if something like that comes up again, I don't think they're going to put up with it. I know I won't.
You know, one of the things when this happened, I got rid of my place, like on my job went online, right? So I was wearing a suit every day. I was meeting customers day in, day out. That's what I did. I was in front of customers every day. And when this happened, everything moved online. So I got rid of my place in the city and I moved to the woods. I literally went to my house in the middle of nowhere, log house, middle of the forest, and I stayed there for 2.5 years. And I did prep, actually. Yeah, I'm a gun owner, bro. When I first saw that, you know what came up to mind? I grew up watching zombie movies. I grew up watching zombie movies. I'm like 12-gauge shotgun. It's loaded next to the bed. If those zombies arrive, I'm fucking ready. But yet nothing happened. But the thing is, because I refused to participate, I lost my job as an engineer. I lost my right as an individual. The only places I could go was the grocery store and the pharmacy. Yet I'm in better shape than 99.9% of 20-year-olds. And obese people were telling me I need to be vaxxed to protect their health. Hey, asshole, maybe you should drop the McDonald's and take fucking responsibility for your actions, because I'm not the one that's getting sick. And one of the things I started doing, because I do try to look at the positive in those situations. I did not want to go to protest and be militant and scream at people. So a few friends of mine and myself, what we came up is we started giving hugs to people. We started showing up with free hug signs. And in the middle of COVID, I'm telling you, man, in the middle of COVID, I didn't say I was sucking
free hugs
dicks,
for men.
Only, no women allowed. And the hugs are front to back. I take you from behind. I only hug from behind. But
get a reach around.
I gave 5,000-6,000 hugs during that time when we couldn't be 6 feet from each other.
I've given in my life.
But the thing that I've learned, and I did it to all, name the protest, chances are if it was in Quebec or Ontario, I was there. And what I've learned the most? It was the older people, men and women, but older, 50s, 60s, and their 70s.
Who are most affected?
Those are the ones that they come up to me and they start crying in my arms. Like I have so many videos of people crying because they're like, you know what? Thank you. My family don't want to see me anymore. I'm always alone.
Absolutely. And a lot of those people, the grandkids are their whole lives. You know what I mean? They go 2 years without seeing them. That's taking their whole life away. And a lot of them, they're the ones at risk. And they're the ones saying, I don't want it because I care more about my life. You know what I mean?
This is what the most heartbreaking part was elderly people like 50, 60, 70s and older.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that came up to me and gave me the most hugs. Those are the people that cried on my shoulders. Those are the people that were just like, thank you for doing this. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I'm not doing anything special. I'm just in a time where people are desperate, where people are lonely, where people just want to be back with other people. I figured, I'm like, I'll give them love. That's it.
Yeah.
I'll just be there for them no matter what. And my grandmother died alone in the hospital. Like of all of my family, there's only 2 people that went to see her, myself and one of my aunts. It was in March 2020, right when people are thinking zombie apocalypse, right? And I'm just like, okay, I drove to Quebec City, which was 3 hours from where I was, and I went to see her, and I was never worried by this whatsoever, but it shows how strong fear is, because that's what it is, right? It's very easy for us to get fear-mongered and to believe in something, but the best thing I've ever did was to move to the woods. And you know what? One of the first things that I did when I moved by myself over there is I removed everything political from my feeds. Everything was political. I removed it. Everything that was good or like that was bad that I could see as being have the bad vibrations, I cut it off, and I just spent a lot of time by myself playing guitar, smoking cigars, and just being spiritual. That's where I found God, by the way, is by spending a lot of time in the woods. But just what I was consuming every day, like you couldn't turn the TV on back then and just be happy about what you saw, right? Everything was, I don't care that you were on the left, on the right, somewhere in the middle. Everything we saw was negative. So I just said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm done with this shit. I'm just gonna live my life without all those distractions. Best thing I've ever done. And at the same time, people can be mad at what happened. It's the best thing that ever happened to me, because I wouldn't be here right now doing what I'm doing if it wasn't for that. So hopefully people have learned from it. Hopefully people next time are not going to be as easily convinced. They're going to ask for more proof, because that's all I can hope for, right? Is to say, hopefully that opened the eyes of a few people out there. And if this happens again, which in my opinion is just a matter of time, people will not just take it for granted and will actually do some research. And I wanted to talk about this because this is actually pretty funny.
You had Kaufman on your other show, didn't you?
That's why I was laughing. LJ4 Musical. He's saying, check out Tom Cowan, Andrew Kaufman work on virology. I actually had Dr. Andy Kaufman on my podcast last week. Like I posted it last week. Super cool dude. I'm trying to have him to come on this show too, to talk about this stuff. So, and I wanted to show something. If there's any of you that is interested in that type of stuff, go see this guy. There's an episode I did. It's episode 28. I posted it about a month and a half ago. It's with a guy called Justin Leslie. He worked for Pfizer, and he worked on the mRNA technology. He worked for Project Veritas, and he was a whistleblower. That guy got in so much trouble for doing what it is, but for YouTube purposes, he's a clown. It's all bullshit. That guy is full of shit. The vaccine is 100,000% effective.
Yeah.
But if you
have
want
as many
as you
can, as many.
And 2 at a time, probably
yes.
2 at a time.
Yeah.
But
double team those boosters.
I did do an interview with Andy Kaufman last week. If you want to see it, it's on my Rumble. Same thing with Justin Leslie. Very interesting stuff. Like his story is extremely fucking interesting if you want to hear it. But I'm done with this because I'm trying not to say too much and get in trouble. So yeah, I think I'm gonna stop it right there before I get banned on YouTube again.
Yeah. I'll just wrap up a few things. Never share. I believe it was intentional. I need a tinfoil hat. You absolutely do. This is
there you go.
Necessary gifts on the show. I mean, I'm the non-conspiracy theorist, and I still find myself using it. So if you're gonna be a regular here, definitely make your hat. Sorry, my sister too. I believe she's probably talking about when you said your grandmother died alone in the hospital. You hear that story all the time. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. There are, regardless of whatever you believe about, the conspiracy side of it, or whether it was planned or not, or even if you think that the lockdowns were good and necessary, you have to recognize that there was real serious harms done. Now, you may feel that the benefits outweigh the harms. I would disagree, but okay, that's valid. But don't pretend that there wasn't very real and lasting harm done. Like Nico, you had said the old people would often cry in your arms. I mean, what that to me, what that just shows is how deeply we need that connection as humans. I think modern society, modernity, we talk about this loneliness epidemic. And I think one of the things that happens with technology is, it's convenient. It's billed as convenience, but what it does is gives us an excuse. It separates us. It gives us excuses not to. I don't need to go down to my buddy's house to have that little talk with him. Now I can text him or send him an email or something. And yeah, that's convenient. But what do we miss out on? What are we missing out on when we take that, right? And this is a deeper topic. I'm not going to go down any further. But as humans, we require that human connection, and that a couple of people, or many people, would sob in the arms of a stranger just because they gave them a little bit of physical contact. I mean, I think I can't think of a better example to explain what I'm talking about here, and how whatever happened in the future, if they ever want to go down this road again, you absolutely need to consider these factors. I'm pretty firm in I can't imagine ever supporting that kind of thing again. If the virus is that bad, I think people will just naturally quarantine. But Yeah, I mean, you never heard never heard any context, like the kids who lost out on those 2 or 3 years, like that'll probably make a permanent mark in the, you're probably going to notice a significant dent statistically in the kids that were growing up in that time, both socially and intellectually. It basically stopped their development for 2 years at a time. I mean, my son was 10, 11, 12, right? So that's at a time when you're the absolute prime sources of human development. And I believe that's hurt his development socially. Academically, we've got him back up to speed, but there was a lot of kids who have fell behind. And we have to factor all those things in, regardless of what your position is. If we ever go down that, if we ever go on that merry-go-round again.
I'm looking. So there are a couple of things. IJ4 Musical, I copied the link in the comments. I don't know which platform you're on, so it's hard for me to see. Yeah, I don't know which platform. I think he might be off of Rumble. If that's where you are. I did copy the link to the interview with Andy Kaufman in the comments. I don't know if you see it or not. You're on X, so you are. I'm just trying to see where I could actually drop it. Who are you following? Are you following the Political Orphans? Are you following Rob? Are you following me? Who are you following? Because I can drop it. I can drop it to you. It's literally, if you go to Rumble, just look for, there you go. Look for just look at Real Nico Lagan. I dropped it last week, so it's super easy to find, but very interesting guy. Like Andy Kaufman was a very, very cool dude. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, if you guys are ever interested about what Rob was just talking about, there was Dr. Phil, the last time he was on The View. I don't think they're ever going to have him again because of what he said that day, but it was Dr. Phil McGraw. He was on The View. When was it? 11 months ago. And he dropped some fucking knowledge bombs to those feminist women about the symptom of the lockdown, what it actually did to children. And he's a very researched individual. Like, ever since that guy doesn't have his show on TV anymore, he's been completely fucking, it's hard to,
is this Dr. Phil?
Yeah, bro.
He doesn't have a show anymore?
He's not, I don't believe that he's still under a label.
Okay.
He has a show, it's his own. It's like
online.
It's like
Tucker Carlson kind of?
Exactly. This is exactly what I was going to say. But if you guys, I found it. It's on YouTube. If you guys want to see it, because I made some content around that, but it was mind blowing. It's Phil McGraw Talks New Media Company and Book. We Got Issues, The View. I'm pretty sure that's the one. He talks about his new book on the lockdowns, but it was just very fucking interesting.
Jason, now who hates women?
Yeah, there's so many bright women in America. None of them are on The View. Agreed. No. Woman hater. Agreed. This is the perfect segue for even more people that hate women. Let's
a cause that's very dear to Nico's heart.
100%. So let's talk. Let me show you a video of one of the biggest woman hater out there. First, he's going to talk about the economy, and then he's going to talk about toxic masculinity. If that guy, I'm telling you right now, he's a racist. He is definitely a misogynist. He is the VP of the US right now. So he is as racist as they go. My idol, JD Vance. Here we go.
Fanboy of the show.
That we take in and spend, you have to pay for, either through taxes or through inflation. And if we spend the American people's money more wisely, If we stop taxing and spending the American people to death, that's also going to bring relief to all of the pricing pressures that are out there. We're going to make it affordable to live in this country again. That's our mandate. That's our goal. And you're right, there's a lot more that we can do, but I think we've got a pretty good start after 30 days.
We had so many young.
What a racist comment. I cannot believe that he dares saying that every dollar that is spent from tax money from the people's personal wallets should be accounted for. How dare he to say that accountability is something the government should have? Fucking racist.
Well,
I'm tired of this shit, brother.
Well, I'll tell you, and one thing that I would say to, you know, our liberal and left-wing parties out there is, you know, once we started this show and we started covering Donald Trump and Vance, I sort of consciously did this thing where it basically ignored everything I knew about them up till then, and I didn't listen to the media. I just made up my own mind based on what they did from January 20th on.
That's so racist.
I'm telling you, it makes a big difference. It's not going to change something. I still think Trump's a blowhard. You know, I mean, I still think he's a bit of like a giant knob. But you're gonna have some understanding of some of the things they're doing. But like guy like JD Vance, you know, both of us have a bit of a crush on this guy. And one thing I think he's trying to do, I think he's trying to go back to a different era of politics. I've never once heard him, you know, engage in the culture wars. Really, he's not, you know, demonizing Democrats. He's just talking common sense, you know, basic good governance. Be smart with your money. You know, like American tax dollars should go to Americans. How is that racist? That's just common fucking sense. And I mean, it's a winning formula. He's a smart guy. He's not getting dragged down into, you know, culture war battles that we've just been, you know, it's one of the main things on this show, our main concepts, is to get away from that shit. That's been the last 20, 30 years. It's just been culture war after culture war after culture war, and it's fucking exhausting. It doesn't get us anywhere. It just creates this divided, polarized country where half the country hates the other half. They don't just disagree, they hate them. You know, these are monsters. They're not just wrong, they're Nazis. And it's ridiculous. We need to get away from it. And the reason I like JD Vance so much is because I see him in that mold. I see him as trying to get back to that time when compromise wasn't a dirty word. And that's essentially exactly what we're trying to do with this show. You know, you could say he's the spirit animal of this show based on everything that I've seen him do.
The spirit animal, I like it. I'm gonna have a painting done for the back. It's just JD Vance and you sucking his dick.
As long as it's just the one, it's fine. It's not gay, right?
That's it. Yeah. That is the one.
You get one freebie. Every straight guy gets one freebie.
Is that what your girlfriend says? You have one. There.
Yeah.
You know,
no,
I've heard of couples saying that they have, you know, there's a celebrity that if they get to sleep with them,
it's a trap. Don't fall for it.
No, obviously not. But that's yours, right? Yeah, JD Vance is yours.
I pick a girl if I actually have the conversation. You have one. It's JD Vance.
Oh, that's it. Harold and Kumar flashback. Exactly.
Yeah, what was the
Big
joke?
Bob.
Just one dick.
Big Bob. It's not gay if you're the one getting your dick sucked. Sucking a dick is gay, but getting it sucked, not gay at all.
That's prison rules for sure.
Sure. You know, the thing about JD Vance is, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I could not understand why the fuck Trump chose him until I saw him debate for the VP against Tim Walz. You had a guy like Tim Walz that's emotional like a little girl, that's just all over the fucking place, that makes Kamala Harris sound intelligent. That is not an easy fucking feat. And you're having him just go crazy talking about some of the dumbest shit, some of the dumbest stuff I've ever heard. And JD Vance is just calm, cool, and collected. He doesn't try to make fun of him. It doesn't rip into him. He stays super polite, super on point. You know, something that Trump has never been able to do in a debate. Trump, you can always trap Trump. You can always get at him and he will react to it. something that JD Vance does not go for, and it was brilliant. When I listened to the whole fucking thing, and by the end, I'm like, am I in a Twilight Zone episode here? Like, what just happened? Two people actually had a debate, and they weren't insulting each other? What the fuck is happening here? And ever since then, the more that guy speaks, the more I'm like, God damn, I understand why they picked him. I understand why JD Vance is VP, and I'm not the biggest fan of the way Trump talks. Like there's something about the way and I don't like people that talk about themselves. Nico doesn't like when people talk about
third person.
It's the weirdest fucking thing when somebody does that. But I love the way JD Vance talk. And the next video is even better. Like his legs are just like fucking wide open, like he's having a beer at home. But he's talking to thousands of people. Like, but he's just a dude. Like JD Vance strikes me as just a fucking dude that you can just have. And he talks about, something in the video that made me thought of us. He basically says that men should be able to kid around and fuck around because that's what we do.
Well, you had mentioned yesterday. Sorry, you finished.
But this is just something that we do, right? Like in martial arts, you can literally do jiu-jitsu with a sweaty dude. He's gonna shove his balls in your face and laugh at you as he's doing it. That's the type of dumb shit that guys do. And it's whatever. That's what guys do. We just fuck around with each other. Like we like to insult each other.
Especially French guys. They love doing that stuff.
Oh yeah, because that's not gay. If you're French, nothing. No homo. You don't even need to say no homo. It's just
it's a given. It's implied.
Yeah. We hug like this. Right?
front to back hugs.
Only.
You had said yesterday, it seems like a guy you could have a beer with, and that's sort of the cliche of the politician, right? I think a lot of people get caught up in like policies and platforms. Of course, that's important. For sure it is. But really, I think what a lot of people are voting for when they go into that voting booth, because everyone knows what the platforms are. Everyone knows. Like, that's why people said, oh, well, Kamala didn't lose because of the trans issue. She didn't even talk about it. She didn't have to. Everybody knows what the Democratic position is on the trans issue, right? But what people like to see is a guy, typically, especially men, can I have a beer with that guy? Could I imagine myself sitting down and just shooting the shit with him? And that, of course, that's not the only issue, but I think it's really undervalued how important that trait is. You could call it their beer worthiness if you want to call it that, but it is huge, and JD Vance has it in spades, and it's going to be very interesting in 2020 because, as you said yesterday, Trump can't go again. So I think Vance is your presumptive, but I mean, DeSantis down in Florida, he might. I think up until Vance started this rise back, a couple months back, I think DeSantis thought it was a shoo-in for him. He's still a popular guy on the right.
Yeah, but you know what?
He doesn't have that crossover appeal, though, that Vance has.
The problem with, as much as I like a lot of the stuff that DeSantis did as governor of Florida, the thing that I don't like is that he's a career politician.
Absolutely. No doubt.
He's a career politician. He's been there forever. This is what I like from JD Vance, is that he is not a career politician. Like, he was a military man first and foremost.
Yeah.
It's the whole fucking story. If you wanted to invent a guy,
you couldn't.
The only better thing he could have done is be black. If that guy was black on top of it,
he'd be on the Democratic Party. He'd be a Dem if he was with the exact same story, exact same values.
Oh no, he wouldn't have if he was a black guy in a wheelchair.
Oh,
bro,
you're checking so many boxes. But
and
going back to
he had he had two women as his parents.
Oh, did he?
No, I'm fucking.
Oh, if he did. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, then
idiot.
then it's the then it's just every single. I mean,
he's well adjusted, so we both know that that's impossible. So clearly,
but just going back to the beerability factor. I mean, Vance clearly
but hold
crushes
on, before you finish that. But before you finish, let me play the video, because you'll see. If you think you like him now, I'm thinking that the reason his legs were open during the interviews because he was thinking about you.
Yeah, of course. Let's see it.
Bro, you'll see.
You'll see.
Hold on. Why isn't? Oh, okay. Hold on. I think it's already there. Yep.
People come out and support Donald Trump
Yes, we did.
and J.D. Vance.
And thank you.
This past election. So what is your message? And what is your message to the young men?
You know, I guess my message to young people generally is we're trying to make your life better. And that is the simple thrust of President Trump's policy is we want you to be able to buy a home. We want you to be able to work a good job. We want you to be able to raise your kids, like I said, according to the values that you believe in. And we want you to be able to build a nice life in this country that all of us love. That is what we're trying to do. And, you know, you
Fucking
guys
racist.
more than anybody, more than me, I'm talking about people under the age of 30 in particular, you guys are going to have to deal with the consequences of good policy or of bad policy for much longer than the rest of us. And I want you guys to think about the future and ask yourself, do you want safe communities? Do you want a prosperous life? Do you want to be able to work a good job? Or do you want that job shipped off to China or somewhere else? We're fighting for you every single day. We want you to help fight for us because we've got to win. Not just the policy battles of the next couple of months. We've got to win the midterm elections in a couple of years. We need you. We recognize that we need you, and we're fighting for you every single day.
He's going to start talking about young men afterwards. This is why I'm pausing it. But can you imagine how different the last election would have been if that was a message that the Democrats would have had? Because J.D. Vance did not get to say, he has gone so much better at explaining himself over the past couple of months. It's insane. It's time and time again, you hear him talk and you're just like, fuck, that is just common sense what you're saying there. And I love the fact that he's putting it on the young people saying, guys, we're doing it for you. We're not going to be there. Soon enough, it's going to be your fucking responsibility. You're going to have to deal with inflation. I don't know if I kept it in there or not because the video, like his actual interview was like 15 or 20 minutes long. But he basically says at one point, it's either, you know, there's inflation for every single dollar that is printed. And that's on you. You might not see it today, but
It's
at
a
one
tax,
point
right?
it will hit you.
It's a hidden tax.
It's just, I love the way that he approaches it. And he's so down to earth. He's just, you know, this is something that most politicians don't do very well, that he does extremely well. He talks to his audience like
He doesn't talk down to them.
you can hear, did you hear the people? They're reacting in the background. They're like,
Yep.
they're trying to clap, but he's not done yet. So they're like, we're not going to clap yet. But can you disagree with anything as a lefty? And the question's for you guys out there. If you're a lefty and you heard this guy speak and you did not know that he was a Republican, let's say that you do not know who J.D. Vance is. You don't know that he's a Republican. Would you disagree with what he just said? Is there something that guy just said right now in the past 2 minutes that you can honestly say is full of shit, is racist, is sexist, whatever you want to call it? Is there something he said that was wrong?
No, I mean, you wouldn't know it. And again, this is sort of what I was saying a minute ago. Like, there's no hint of the culture war in there. These are just meat and potato, bread and butter issues that everyone across the spectrum is concerned about. Culture wars are a loser right now. They may have been a winner the last couple of decades, although I think that's doubtful. I think it's just the elites thought that's what the people wanted, and so they gave it to us. But I don't really think it was. But especially in contrast to the last 20 years, to see that, it's just so refreshing. I mean, all he's talking about is stuff anyone anybody cares about. You know, like he said, he just looked into the camera and said, I want young men to feel like they have a nice life in this country, to feel like this country has something to offer for them. And what is wrong with that? You know,
he wasn't even talking to men yet, although that was a question.
Did you have that clip coming up?
Yeah. That was not.
I won't touch that because I was going to say something.
But the first part, although the question is because young men and men are who voted for Trump and voted against Kamala Harris, right? That's what the exit poll are saying. That's why she was asking that question, but he didn't answer it yet. He just said, before I do, let me talk to young people. This was a message for, I love the fact that he didn't even answer the question just to men. He's like, hold on, before I do this, let me talk to young people. Now I cut it off because I know he's going to talk to young men directly.
All right,
but he addressed that as in men and women. brilliant. The way he
If
addresses it is just bravo, brother.
if
Like,
you voted
bravo.
for if you voted for Trump, I like you watch and by extension JD Vance, you watch that, every single one person who voted for him is going to be happy that they did, and there's a large chunk of people who didn't who are gonna say, that I like what I'm hearing. You know what I mean? So I mean, as a politician, that's all you can do. Hang on to your supporters, maybe steal a couple from the other side. You're going to win every single time when you do that.
He will, in 4 years from now, that the Democrats should be scared shitless of this guy.
Oh, fuck yeah.
If the Democrats are intelligent, they're looking at this guy and they're like, you think Trump is dangerous? This guy will decimate your party. It will destroy it.
I don't know if Vance is doing this on purpose. I feel like he is, but what I think he's doing is this rush to the middle, the rush to the sane normie middle, which is essentially what this podcast is all about. We talked about this before we did our first episode, and the general consensus was we feel like there's something going on. The normie majority of this country, not even this country, but Western society is sick to fucking death of these far left, far right goddamn idiots. And we're sick of being led around by these morons who have no common sense whatsoever. And I think you're going to the next 10, 20 years, I think is going to be revenge of the normies. And I think JD Vance, whether he's intentionally doing it or not, is absolutely smack dab in the middle of that movement.
I'm telling you, if the Democrats, they need to be very worried about a guy like him.
Absolutely.
Because he talks to everybody that voted for Trump will vote for that guy. But all the people that Trump was not able to get because of the way Trump is, that guy is going to be able to get just by talking to the normies. I like it. I like that expression.
Before you go on, Jason, what Jason said, I agree. Name one person on the left that can run against him and win. Ton of third people party that both parties. I mean, who could? Fetterman has it in him if he makes a few more moves in that direction.
But it's going to take. It's not going to be done in 3 years. The Democrats are going to fight in on everything.
I agree. Democrats, they need to have that come to Jesus moment, and it doesn't look like this election is going to force them there.
Wow, come to Jesus moment. I like it. Just for Jason, just imagine this for a second. JD Vance as president, VP Ron Paul. Jason just came in his. I'm telling you, he just came in his pants. That's it. That's for you, Jason.
Does Jason like Ron Paul?
Do you know who Ron Paul is?
Oh yeah. Rand's father.
But he's a libertarian, right? He's somewhere in the middle. He's always been somewhere in the middle. His views. So it's just if the goal is to go towards a race to the middle, like as you say it, like
you still got to have someone to cover that right flank for sure. If that's strategically, if that's your goal is to jump in the center, I agree with that.
So again, Ron Paul is very, very common sense type of individual. You might not agree with everything, but it's hard to argue with what he says.
There's our answer. Does Jason like Ron Paul? He's the friggin' man.
I'm telling you, JD Vance on president.
Yeah, you're right.
Ron Paul, that one's for you, bro.
You gotta seal up that right flank if you're going to do that rush to the center. Now, Democrats, they're gonna have to have an answer, and I don't even think they realize they need to yet. There's still a lot of morons on the left who are thinking, Kamala wasn't left enough. She didn't talk about trans enough. And these people are these are the same people that tell us women can have penises and men can give birth. Yep. So I'm not sure why anybody should give a shit what they have to say. But Democrats, maybe they're just masochists and they love getting their ass kicked.
So February 21st, 2025, 1 month into Donald Trump's presidency, and you heard it here first. JD Vance, Ron Paul as VP for the Republican Party in 2029. Heard it here first. Let's continue this.
I think you asked me. My message to young men is I think that our culture sends a message to young men that you should suppress every masculine urge. You should try to cast aside.
Are you holding it right now?
Family.
I've got the weirdest boner right now.
You should try to suppress what makes you a young man in the first place. And I think that my message to young men is don't allow this broken culture to send you a message that you're a bad person, because you're a man, because you like to tell a joke, because you like to have a beer with your friends, or because you're competitive. It's
just the way he waits. He's just likable.
like our message, the cultural message.
The crowd knew exactly what he meant.
And mine is the exact opposite. But our cultural message is, I think that it wants to turn everybody, into, whether male or female, into androgynous idiots who think the same, talk the same, and act the same. We actually think God made male and female for a purpose, and we want you guys to thrive as young men and as young women, and we're going to help with our public policy to make it possible to do that. And by the way, that I actually think, Mercedes, this is the thing that President Trump, this is why the media went after him so hard, is because, you know, when I think about, like, what is the essence of masculinity, you could answer this in so many different ways, but when I think about me and my guy friends, we really like to tell jokes to one another. We like to laugh. If you think of all the movies that were really popular.
Are you saying you're
sometimes it's offensive.
I try to be.
Okay, President
And that is
Trump.
okay.
Who's funnier? Who's funnier?
President Trump.
All right, there you go.
Let's be honest.
You gotta say, you gotta say that
He's
one.
got the best sense of humor.
No, but
of
he's probably
any
right, though.
American
He's
political
probably
figure.
right.
But I think this is why young men in particular are so, you know, they're so inspired by President Trump, is because he doesn't allow the media to tell him he can't make a joke or he can't have an original thought. President Trump just says what's on his mind. That's a damn good thing, and it's a good example to set for young men in American culture.
Wow.
I was listening to this morning, and I'm like, bro, like, how can you say it better than the way he said? I wish he was in a t-shirt, jeans, smoking a cigar with a drink. That is the only thing that's missing from this picture. Is fuck your suit. If he was in a jeans t-shirt with some Converses on and just talking, there, like, I don't remember from memory. And Jason, I know you're still watching, has an amazing fucking memory when it comes to that stuff. Can you remember a guy that spoke the way JD Vance does? Because I cannot remember.
Like a politician?
That is just so likable, just so down to earth. He's just speaking and he's enjoying it. Like, you saw him laugh, like, during, like, he's talking. He's super chill. He has a smile on. He's just, it literally looked like he was shooting the shit in front of people. And see, that's what Jason is saying. In politics, no, neither can I. And I've been fucking following politics for
that's
decades.
even on the right. You know what I mean? Like, even the right has been scared to lean into this. And I think Vance is proving that this is not just okay, but it is a winner. You know, like, you know, I've got a 16-year-old son, and I tell him almost the exact same thing. I tell him, like, right now in our culture, there is a lot of messaging out there that will tell you that your very essence is wrong, that the things that make you are wrong. And I see it as my job as his father to tell him, ignore those voices. Do not listen to them, because what they are trying to do is, as he said, it's like they're trying to break down everything that makes men special. And women are special too. Don't get me wrong. We've talked a lot on this show. We are not betters or we're partners in this, right? There are things that men can do that are our strengths, and we have our weaknesses. Women have their strengths and their weaknesses, and together we support each other. We lift each other up. Our strengths complement their weaknesses, and vice versa. And what the left specifically, but just the culture, seems to be trying to do is break down all those differences, and say, no, there's no differences between men and women. Everything is socially constructed, and if you think otherwise, you're a misogynist, and, you know, you hate women, and it's wrong, and it's toxic, and it hurts. It hurts men, is what it is. There's a masculinity crisis, and when you say that word, maybe you can be like, oh, well, that's good. No, there's young men are not doing well right now because they have been told for the last 10 or 15 years that everything about them is wrong, and they have not been given any examples of healthy masculinity to aspire to. They were given neutered, emasculated, simp cuck version of masculinity, like a Tim Walz. You know what I mean? That's the poster child for the new masculinity, and that does not appeal to any actual man who has masculinity in him, because it's in our DNA, right? Men want to be masculine and we want to be perceived as masculine. Not every single one, but the vast majority of us do. And Tim Walz is not going to fucking cut it. And we've talked a lot about it. Me and you as men would never tell a young woman how to be a young woman, but we deserve, what we're saying is give us that same respect. Do not tell us how to raise our young men. Do not tell us how men should be, because it isn't your wheelhouse. Men need to be masculine. And when you just squelch that and you kill that, you know what happens? Two things happen. They go one of two ways. One, they go down this emasculated cuck simp route, and they just become a sort of failed man who is never happy, but is constantly chasing this version that some feminine, it could be a feminist, it could be a woman, it could even be another man, but it is brimming with feminine energy, and say, this is what you should be. They try to be that and it doesn't feel good, so they try the next thing. Or you go the other direction. You get attracted to the Andrew Tates of the world, the guys who actually are not good role models for our young men. And if you do not give young men examples of healthy masculinity to aspire to, they will aspire to the unhealthy ones, because men need masculinity. And it is not any other woman's place to tell men how to be men any more than it is mine or your place to tell a young woman how to be a woman.
And I'm the best example for that. When my dad left, it went downhill from there. It was just drugs, alcoholism. I wasn't in school anymore. Started selling drugs to support my habits, and this lasted for years. And even if you do have a father that's there and not present, how many of my friends that are guys that are still in the same pattern as I was in my early 20s and teenage years, that they're still there. They have their own sons, and you can see that they're going down the same fucking They're going down the same route as they did, because they still don't get how important they are to their boy's life. And as a guy that my wife is pregnant with her first kid and it's a son, you have no idea, bro, how seriously I take this, knowing what I've been through. I know firsthand what it is. I will make sure it never happens to him, that he always has that strong direction to follow. So, it's I just like JD Vance. Conversations like that just make it even more likable, because he's so down to earth. And I got another video that came from a different panel later on the discussion, but they talk about similar things, and I just find it very interesting that, again, it's a conversation that conservatives are having. It's a conversation that Republicans are having. It's a conversation that people in the middle are having. But this is not a conversation we're hearing from the Democrats. And this is why they lost their elections. Like, this is 100% why traditional men who want to be masculine do not align with the Democrat Party anymore. And they're tired of being told by a bunch of white women what masculinity is all about.
Yeah.
And Jason wrote something about Brian Stan. Fucking love that guy, man. What a blast from the past. I totally forgot about this guy. Retired US Marine that started fighting MMA. Awesome fucking dude. I actually, as I saw that you were talking, I reached out to him on Instagram, try to get him on my show, because I'm like, I fucking love that guy. I used to watch him all the time. So yeah, Brian Stan is a good dude, and as per his Instagram, I think he has 4 daughters. So that would make for a very interesting fucking conversation. If masculine men are almost evil today, imagine what it is to be there for your daughters. Because one thing that a lot of women forget is a woman's first love is her father. They will, however the relationship is with their father, will dictate their relationship with other men. And we used to fuck around with this, but I used to coach men, and I would tell them that the first question they should always ask on a first date is, give me a moment with your father. Talk to me about the best moment you've ever had with your father. If the woman starts screaming, she gets pissed off, she's irate, pay the bill, get the fuck out of there, because either she had a really bad father or she never saw the value in her father. But the thing that's common about both is that she never made peace with it. She never worked on it to try to fix that in her. So this is not relationship potential. Save yourself the hassle, get the fuck out of there. If you get a woman that is capable of saying something good about her father and still know that he wasn't perfect, that he fucked up, that we're humans, nobody's perfect, right? But you have to be able to see the good in people. Then you should sit down and continue exploring that woman and see where it goes. But if she reacts in a bad way and it's an irate way, pay the bill, get the fuck out of there, and you can thank me later for this one.
You don't want none of that.
Oh no, but I've been there, done that. But you can easily, it's not a coincidence that men like Andrew Tate always go for women with daddy issues, because they know you can exploit that. There's a way to exploit. Like, I don't know if you remember Mystery. He wrote a book about, like, a super nerd wrote a book on how to pick up women in bars and stuff like that. And that's always the psychology. Always go for women that you know that you can insult.
Don't low self-esteem, and it's called
exactly.
It's called negging, a classic technique for pickup artists. Yeah, and I mean the fact is, it
I
works.
don't know.
It's
trust you.
It's manipulative.
Is that how you picked up your girlfriend?
That is not how I do it. But I know for a certain type of person, it will work, and it does play on their low self-esteem, and that's of course why it's unethical and toxic. And I would always tell my son, you should never do that. But it does work, and it's funny because we've talked. A lot of these women, I'm sure you've noticed this too. A lot of the just like most men want to be masculine, most straight women are strongly attracted to masculinity, even the ones out there with the signs and down with masculinity. So it's like I say to my son, I'm like, do not listen to what these people are telling you. They're going to go and try to turn you into something, and then go out and date someone who's the exact opposite, right? And it's not about like dating or having sex, but what we're really talking about is, I believe one of the core factors in happiness is to have that your other half, your partner. I think being in love, not to sound super gay and like Jerry Maguire, but I think it does complete us. You know what I mean? I think to handicap a young man, to handicap for real, to handicap a young man though, and by teaching him something that makes it less likely for him to have a successful relationship later in life, I think you were causing serious harm to that young man. And that's the kind of the thing that I'm trying to get away to get across to my son, because a lot of these people, maybe they're trying to do the right thing, but they're wrong. I think 20, 30 years ago, people recognized young women were not doing so well. They were getting a lot of harmful messaging. And so that's where we got these things like, plus size models, and Dove soap has, bigger girls, and all that's great. And I think if that works, I think that's fantastic. My take is I'm hands off. I'm not a young woman. I will leave it to the women to set that messaging for them. But you have to give us the same courtesy. Do not tell us how to raise our young men. Do not tell young men how to be men. Leave that to us, because we are the ones who are in the best position to do so.
That one's for you, man. I got something just for you, and this is what I think about what you just said.
Gay fact.
There you go. Just for you.
Gay.
but you're absolutely, I need a board. I need a board.
Gay.
Gay. I have the best memory for the stupidest fucking thing. Like that, I can't remember exactly where I got it. I can tell you which movie it comes from. But you're absolutely right. And again, I think that JD Vance is going to become our spirit animal. I like it. I'll try to remember that, but it's just very hard for me up to now to find things I don't like about him. Like the way he carries himself, the way he speaks. He's extremely original when it comes to a politician. I do not remember seeing a politician like him before. At least I can't remember last time I saw one that seemed approachable. Like, he literally sounds like the type of person that you can just shoot the shit with, approach, shake his hand, say, hey, good job, bro, and just leave. Like, he just seems like a good fucking dude. Now, for the people that are watching, I asked a question at the beginning, and I'm going to ask it again. Have you ever heard of CPAC? Like, the videos I showed you are from CPAC. It's the Conservative Political Action Convention. They have a lot of speakers. Obviously, a lot of them are Republican. But have you ever heard about CPAC? Have you ever watched it? And if so, what do you think about it? I want to know, as liberals, as lefties, as Democrats, whatever you call yourself, have you ever watched it? Because the two videos I showed you up to now, this is where it's from. I got another one I wanted to show you about. I'm going to share it right now. It's on the same type of discussion. It talks about family. It talks about toxic masculinity. It's just, I found it very interesting that multiple speakers on that panel yesterday brought the same thing over and over and over again, which is something that you don't hear from the left. It is just something we're not hearing, and this is exactly why they fucking lost.
First of all, President Trump is the most pro-family president, period, ever, period. He's done a full blitzkrieg to protect our children and families. Out of the gate, he signed this executive order to protect our children, not just their bodies, but their hearts and minds from this nefarious and evil transgender industry, which, by the way, this transgender industry that's given our kids cross-sex hormones, blocking their puberties, chopping up their body parts and sterilizing them, it's worth $4.5 billion in this country. And we just allow it to go unchecked. And we wonder why we're always talking about it. Well, it's because they're taking that money and they're piling it back into PR campaigns and public relations and pushing it on our kids in schools. But President Trump, out of the gate, signs this amazing executive order to protect our children from this. And it bans the funding of these surgeries. It bans them at any hospitals that accept Medicaid. But also, what was very fascinating to me was it instructed the Department of Justice to investigate any doctors or clinics or companies, pharmaceutical companies, that are pushing transgender surgeries and hormone treatments on minors. And then, by the way,
like, again, how can you disagree with what he just said? I have no idea, by the way. I don't remember what the guy's name is. I didn't know him. I've never seen him before. But he is right by saying that Trump has put an executive order banning transgender surgery on kids on 19, younger than 19.
Should be a no-brainer.
My point exactly, like everything that guy said, talking about what Trump has done, I'm like,
I think it should be 25, to be honest. After that, if you want to
yeah,
cut your body,
because they say your brain is not developed until the age of 25.
yeah, you can't have it both ways, right? Like, they're using that statistic or that fact as a way to, like, lessen criminal sentences on offenders that are 21, 22, 23. Okay, that's fine. I'll buy that. But you can't then say, but if you're 17 or 12 or 14, you have the state of mind necessary to cut your penis off, as if you have any idea what you're giving up, or cutting your breasts off. I follow a lot of people like detransitioners. Many of them are in their early 20s, having kids now, and I see it regularly. They mourn for the loss of their breast because they can't feed their child in the way that nature intended them to. And I mean, those are real serious consequences. They just had no idea. They never thought of that when they were a kid. And so, yeah, you can't have it both ways. If you're going to tell me that the brain isn't fully developed until 25, then you absolutely should not be causing permanent harm and damage to your body because of a far left ideology, that a TikTok trend that started in the last 5-10 years or something.
But let's see this. What you're saying right now reminds me of this. Let me share this again. I have the weirdest fucking memory when it comes to this shit. But what you just said there, just to show you how nonsensical this is, listen to this.
Do you think it's okay to transition children?
Yeah.
To Christianity?
No.
It's just but this is how nonsensical it sounds to me.
Yeah.
Like, can you transition children?
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
To Christianity, no. Yet it does. You could join Christianity right now and leave tomorrow, and you still have your boobs. You still
No
have your
permanent
penis,
harm.
You can walk away, and you'll be just fine. See, this is why the left parties are so nonsensical, and they make no sense. And that's why guys like you hear guys
President
like
Trump has been.
you hear guys like JD Vance.
Mhm.
You're just like, duh. So, but it goes further. That's the thing. They're going to talk about masculinity, but they're also going to approach the family aspect, which we've talked about this before, and it is something that the left does never talks about. Like, they're all about women power, about single mother raising children.
Hashtag girl boss.
How we need, like, how many times have I heard feminists tell me that we need to encourage women to raise their children alone? I'm like, how about you look at the statistics?
Yeah.
How about you look at what it does to young men, especially that last time I checked, it was something like 90% of fucking prisoners, male prisoners, were raised by single mothers where men were not present in their lives. Like, if that statistic does not fucking scare you, it had to do with prisoners, it had to do with homelessness. It was 80 to 90% in both. Like, it's insane.
It's I mean, to me, it's just a no-brainer. Like, yes, of course, if through no fault of her own, a woman finds herself as a single mother.
That is
Yeah,
not
I
what
know
I'm
you're
talking
not
about at
no,
all. Okay.
for
No,
sure.
but as much as I hate women, we need to make that clear, right? We need
Yeah,
to
yeah, no,
make
for
sure
sure.
that we know. Of
Yes,
course,
exactly.
it's her fault. It's
Of
not-
course,
no,
of course.
Why? It's her fault. 100%.
Of course, they should be supported, but to encourage it is it's just
Yeah.
wrong. It's anti-human. You know, I mean, as I was saying earlier, we've discussed a lot in the show. Men and women, we are partners, and that is the best way to raise a family. There are things that a mother will give to that child that the father just can't, and there are things that the father will give to that child that the mother just cannot. And so together is your best idea. That's what should be encouraged. Of course, if circumstances happen and one or both, you have a single father or a single mother, there should be support. They should be, you know, they should be supported in that. They should be encouraged, celebrated, blah, blah, blah. By no means should that ever be encouraged. That is a ridiculous statement. It's it goes against everything that we are as a species. I can't hear you, Neeks.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Gotcha.
I think I muted myself by accident.
Yep.
You know, one doesn't take away from the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Boy needs his father doesn't mean that the mother is not important. Like,
And
it
that's how
doesn't.
they frame it.
I know. How many times have I been accused of saying that? Are you saying I'm not a good mother? Well, hold on.
Bullshit, yeah.
If you're preventing the father from being part of a boy's life because you don't like him, because you have a problem with him, because your relationship didn't work, yeah, you're a bad mother, 100%. Because you're not the one that's going to suffer. Your son will. You're only hurting your child at the end of the day. That's who's really suffering. So I just want people to be okay with families. Like, there's nothing wrong with fucking families, on the contrary. So let's continue this.
Yeah.
Whoops.
On the women's sports
That's
fight,
right.
and it was so cool. Yeah, that's right. He deserves it. But he had this executive order signing ceremony, and I've been involved in this fight for so long. We ran so many campaign ads on this. But in the background of President Trump signing this were all these little girls from all across the country with their jerseys on, their medals, and you could just see how much his work on this fight meant to those girls. And so I'm going to be forever grateful, eternally grateful to President Trump for everything he's done.
Can I just add something? And I'd like to talk about the issue of marriage, shall we?
Yeah. Yes.
Let's talk about the idea that at this point in our nation, we're not at replacement rate for our children, for our families. We have less people getting married, young people getting married. We have a whole group of young men that are following the evil pathway of Andrew Tate, who's openly in favor of pornography, creating pornography. It is the way of destruction. And I just want to, here on this CPAC stage, repudiate all of that, suggest that although not everybody can get married, not everybody can have children, but it's okay to realize and to state that it's the ideal for a family. And it's healthy for a nation, and it's healthy for people. And about 81% of young people in this country want to be married. But we're down in those numbers, and I would suggest there's some real systemic causes of that we have to deal with.
Well, Penny,
You know, she touches on points that are absolutely accurate. 2.1 children per family is what's needed in order
I
for
think we're at 1.6
Americans.
right now, or 1.7.
Exactly. So we're below, and it is a problem because we need 2.1 children per family. And I like the way she approaches it, because even her talks against Andrew Tate. And I got to say that she's pretty ballsy, because I don't know if you saw this. I don't know that we talked about it, but I wanted to. But Donald Trump's administration is putting pressure, supposedly, and that's allegedly, like, it hasn't been proven yet, but it was reported this week that Donald Trump his administration, should I say, has been trying to put pressure on Romania's government in order to lift the travel ban that the Tate brothers have right now, because they're not allowed, although they're not on house arrest anymore, they can travel within the country, but his administration is trying to get involved in that. And, you know, I was hearing this and I'm like, why the fuck are we getting involved in this shit? Like, you know, as much as some of the things that he says I will agree with, the truth in the matter is he made his money by doing pornography, by exploiting the young men that would pay for this shit, that now he talks to say that he's the solution to their problem. You got rich by taking advantage of the same young men that you're trying to preach to today. Like, don't give me this shit that you're high and mighty. I like the fact that that woman, whoever she is, I don't remember her name.
I think it's Kimberly Guilfoyle, Trump Jr., Donald Trump Jr.'s girlfriend.
Donald Trump. Oh, it's possible. It's very, very possible. But it's the fact that she said it on stage where JD Vance was, and Trump's going to be in 2 days or tomorrow, 2 days from when it was recorded yesterday, to me was ballsy, because nobody on the right now, or at least most people on the right, are not calling out Andrew Tate for what he is.
Yeah, I was
like,
thinking
he is
that.
part of the MAGA movement. And I know a guy called the Misfit Patriot that is a very big Trump supporter, but he talks against Andrew Tate. He's in a war. Like, Andrew Tate just blocked him, basically, because he's always calling him out on stuff, because they always argue back and forth. But all to say that we got to be very careful for the conservative people out there, or even the Republicans that are listening to this. Be careful, because there is such a thing as bad elements on the right side too. And to me, being associated with a guy like Andrew Tate, my son is not going to be fucking watching his garbage, or if he is, he's going to be very aware of what he's watching. Like, of course you need to watch it in order to understand the psyche of what are the men that are preying on young boys right now.
Yeah, I think I thought that was cool to see too. I think to sort of it's nice to see the right sort of turn against that sort of, because you're right, he is sort of a right wing coded kind of guy. I would say the vast majority of his followers are right wing, and it would be easy to sort of just bring him along for the ride. But it's good to see people call that out. Another thing I like, and I like seeing on the right. I fully agree with it. I think we need to see it on the left. Is this sort of anti-porn thing? My own, I used to see it as sort of a, like, I don't think it should be banned or anything, but I thought it was like harmless. My opinion on it has evolved a lot. I think I think it's really destructive to healthy relationships. Obviously, with a 16-year-old son, you have to have that talk. If he wants, it's just the way the world and the internet is structured today. If he wants to find it, he's going to find it. Mostly what I'm saying is, like, shouldn't watch this shit. It's going to give you unhealthy, unrealistic ideals about relationships and women. But I said, whatever you choose to do, one thing you absolutely need to understand is that isn't real life. That is not how, that is not how you should be connecting with someone special in your life. There's like I told him, was like, sex can be a wonderful way to cement the bond between, a man and his partner or what have you. And a lot of the messaging and the vibes you get from porn these days is, choke her, slap her around, and that's how you treat women and stuff. And I think that's harmful. I think that hurts women, but also hurts men. It just hurts the ability for men and women to have healthy and successful relationships. So I'm really, I've certainly evolved on that issue, and it is nice to see it on the right. The left is still mostly speaking about, it's empowering to women to have your head stuffed in the toilet while getting railed from behind by 3 men. I don't really see how that's empowering to women. I think it's harmful to women, actually. But
the biggest problem with this is, and that's something that is not talked about enough when it comes to porn, is the fact that, so just to put it into context, I've recorded a lot of podcasts with specialists in human trafficking. And I've recorded at least 3 or 4 podcasts with some of the most known people in the world.
Those are too intimately connected.
And this is something that we don't connect very often. And Craig Sawyer, which is ex-Navy SEALs Team 6, that actually catches predators, like he puts Sting's operation together with police and he catches those people. I talked to a Phoenix detective, like former Phoenix detective. I released a podcast with her, Andy Chance, this week. And that's another thing we were talking about, how we don't make the connection between human trafficking and pornography. But you look at something, she was talking in extensively because she was used as bait. Now she does the website, but she used to dress as a prostitute to try to catch people from doing it.
Really?
So she's very, very interesting. I released a podcast this week. Again, I got to be careful what I talk about, not to get in trouble on YouTube, but all to say that something as accepted as OF, as OnlyFans, is used all the time by traffickers to sell their women.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of that going on.
But most people that will watch OnlyFans, that will watch pornography, don't associate human trafficking with pornography. They think that those people are willing. Automatically, we assume, of course they're willing. Like they're not forced into doing this. Yet, think about it this way. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't human traffickers not create that type of content since it makes so much money? Of course they do. Of course they do. And this is what really blew my mind, because I had never put 1 and 1 together to say, the woman that you're fucking masturbating to right now, for all you know, she's so exploited. It's not just that, everybody was consenting to this. For all you know, that woman is drugged up her mind. You have no clue. And I'm not saying that they all are. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
But you don't know. So, like, as a regular guy, you're like, can you really look at this? And could you really masturbate to a woman that's getting abused right now? Is that your thing? Because you got a bigger problem if that's your thing. I don't think the average guy that masturbates to porn actually thought about that.
Yes, exactly.
The woman that you're looking at. And they kind of blew my mind when they talked about this, because I know the danger of porn when it comes to how it fucks with your head, how it plays with your hormones, and don't even talk about the fact that I can see more naked women right now on my phone in the span of 5 minutes that the average man saw 20 years ago in their lifetime.
Oh yeah.
This is another thing that blew my mind.
The ease of access.
Oh yes. So why would you be interested in one woman when you can see 1,000 right now, and you don't have, there was studies showing that men and women, young men and women, are kind of disgusted the first time they have sex because they've never smelt it before. There's always
the bodies. Yeah, human bodies have a certain smell. Sure.
So they're turned off by that because they've masturbated, and that is both men and women. They've masturbated for so long without any other odors than themselves. It's just something that's very weird.
It just disrupts like some natural pathways that I just don't think are healthy. And then you get to the point where young men can seek a quick release, but you don't have to deal with all the problems of a relationship, of a real woman. Not the problems, but just relationships. It takes work, right? It's difficult. And so I think a lot of young men just are like, oh, fuck it. And I think that's a big part of this sort of incel culture that's on the rise. A lot of men just sort of, get the release by quick porn, and then they're satisfied. They don't, because there's something to be said too for that natural urge, that natural instinct that pushes a young man to go out there and do the uncomfortable thing, go up and talk to an attractive young woman. Whereas if you're constantly sexually satisfied, you're just not going to do it.
There's a good reason why in a lot of wars you would have one of the two sides dropping. I think it was during the Second World War. They were dropping pamphlets of naked women across enemy lines because they knew that the young men would see that. They would have the urges to look at it. They would masturbate, and then they'd
lose that killer spirit or something. Every guy knows that feeling, right? The post-nut clarity. It's called post-nut clarity.
But again, something that is not spoken about on the left at all. So when I was listening to this yesterday, I'm like, damn, they're making a good point, because it is not something that is approached at all on the left side. It is even encouraged. It's like it's a good you're empowering women by shoving a camera while they're getting railed by three guys with their head in their toilets. Like you said, I didn't know that was a thing, but I'll take your word for that one.
Everything's a thing, but yes. I mean, it's sort of the type of sex that you see as most commonly put out there in pornography. It does feel very angry, I guess, and hateful, and I don't really. I mean, I'm not a consumer of porn these days, but in my younger years, of course, I thought it was just harmless, whatever. And I just feel it's harmful all around. It's harmful to women. It's harmful to men. It's harmful to the expectations of sex and relationships for women and men. And it's tricky because it's so available. It's so freely available. And, human beings, we have these urges, and especially if you're, a teenage boy, what I mean? Like that's hard to, when I grew up, it wasn't that available. You had to there was always some, the same ratty Playboy being passed around between all your buddies, and there was sort of a quaint innocence to it. That's long gone, right? You can go online and find whatever filthy, disgusting thing titillates you in the moment, and I don't see that as a good thing.
No, and it needs to be, it's just refreshing to see those guys talk about it on stage in front of everybody. I just like it. I just like hearing this.
I think that one of the major problems in this country with family is that we've allowed all these losers in the media, losers in Hollywood, to tell us what masculinity is, to redefine masculinity. And what they've done is they've defined all masculinity as toxic. So young men have never been more under attack.
That's true.
I'm sure there'll be headlines about, CPAC.
You know what I like the best? I'm just cutting him off because he's so not a masculine man.
I was just thinking that. I was like, dude's very flamboyant. Very flamboyant. Yeah, he's one of the normal gays that JD Vance talks about.
Hey, masculinity is important.
Yeah.
Just saying that men are under attack. They just don't get it.
Is the masculinity in the room with us right now, sir?
You are inundated with pornography. You're inundated with sports betting. You're inundated with all these distractions like weed. And they're things that are distracting you and deceiving you from the really important things like getting married, finding that special partner that you can spend the rest of your life with. Then even from there, if you get married, now you have hurdles for these young men that don't even want to have kids. We're called to be fathers. I've got 7 kids, right? And I might have taken
adopted, no doubt,
President Trump's. Thank you.
He had 4 the first time he met President Trump.
And he told me, it was funny, we took a picture, and President Trump, I didn't know what to say transgender industry, which, by the way,
and settle for anything. Mother of a son, we need to.
We can't make America great again.
I wanted to pause this because I don't get the capture of he had 3 before he met
I was
Trump.
thinking, I was like, so is Trump the father? Is
That's
Trump the father of the other 4?
he don't right now. It looks like he is the feminine version of whatever the fuck we're going for here. But yeah,
yeah.
He had 4
Dude's very there you are.
the first time he met President Trump.
I'm not sure what that means.
And he told it was funny. We took a picture, and President Trump.
He took pictures of what?
Yeah,
Bro,
well,
now you're freaking me out. What the fuck are you talking about?
Where are we going with this, fellas?
The head's gonna go in the toilet soon.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to say to him, and so going up, I introduced my wife, and I said, "Mr. President, can you believe that my wife just had her 4th baby?" And he says,
I cannot
"Oh my
believe
gosh,
that,
she's
to be
stunning."
honest.
Which my wife is absolutely beautiful.
Yes.
Keep going, don't stop. But being a father,
It is true that most women are attracted to gay guys. So I guess that makes sense.
What does this guy do? What does this guy do? Because I think, being in a position of power or status is also very attractive.
Yeah, of course it is.
most amazing thing, right? And they get better, every one. But you hold these little babies, and looking up at you is this little vulnerable human being that's looking at you with these eyes that are just drawn to you. And it's the product of the love.
Do you hear that? That's for an inside joke right here. But do you hear that? That she keeps on doing. You know how annoying that is. That's an inside joke for you, bro.
Oh yeah. Oh, is it? I don't know. I feel like it adds a nice context.
Oh,
but yes.
Sure it does. Yeah, sure
Yeah.
it does. So what is he saying? Pretty sure that guy's one of. Yeah, we agree, bro.
Yeah.
That's basically what we were saying. That's exactly what the fuck we were saying. It's yeah.
Between you and the other person that you love with all your heart, and now you have something that you love just as much, and you didn't think that was possible. And we have an entire generation of young men who are smoking weed, watching porn, not getting married, not even pursuing women. We have this thing called incels, involuntary celibates. It's terrible, and we can't become a great nation again. We can't make America great again until our men are great again, until our men are strong. And watching porn, doing OnlyFans, recruiting people, making money off of girls on OnlyFans, that's not how to be a man. That's not masculinity. That's some third gender out there that they've invented. And so I don't know. I just think that these young men out here are they're missing out. And I want to bring them back home. We got to inspire these young men for the challenges ahead of them.
Let me say, we're the women's group who love men. And I'm a mother of a son. We need to have great role models for them. And, and I would say those great role models are not the men who monetize women, but it are the men who are faithful husbands. My husband and I have been married 30 years almost. He's been a faithful husband, father to our children. Have been a lifelong
I don't know who
friend
she is.
and
I'm looking for their names
supported
now.
my career. That's what you want, young ladies. And don't sell yourself short and settle for anything less. Any man that doesn't respect
Her name
you
is
and is not willing
Penny
to commit to
Nance.
you, don't settle for it. But at the same time, the young men have been undermined, and I think we need to support them and give them the great role models that they deserve, because they'll be happier, is the truth.
And we're talking about.
And that's another thing I think we talked about this yesterday, and that's one of the problems that I have with the messaging from an Andrew Tate, for example, where because he's a high value man, because he's a man that is part of the 10% of men out there, and as per studies, 90% of women will fight for the top 10% of men. It's not because you're able to get women easily that you should sleep with every single one of them. You don't get to look at women and say, you know what, it's easy for you to get sex, because let's be real here. Show me a really ugly girl. She can go to the bar right now or tonight. She'll find somebody to fuck her tonight. Like, it's never been hard for women to have sex. But it's not because you are top 10% that you get to sleep with all the women that you want. On the contrary, if women are supposed to be more selective in the men that they sleep with, or how many times they sleep with men as a rule, that means men should be in check as well. And that's something that she's talking about that I agree with. It's not because you're a good-looking guy or you're a successful guy that women want that you get to go through as many women as you feel like you want. There should be a control that needs to be taught to our young men, because God knows I was not taught that. And I look back, I'm You know, I've not always been the nicest person to women. I don't think that surprises anybody. And no, but I've taken advantage of the fact that I could get them, sure.
Yeah.
But that was never taught to me, right? It's not something. Now I look back and I'm like, fuck. You know that's something I'm going to teach my son.
Mhm.
You know that is something that we're going to talk about. It's not because you can that you should. Because there
agree
is something that is lost every single time you do that. There is, you know, they say that the more men a woman slept with, the harder it is for her to bond with another man.
Yeah,
'Cause
I mean,
women are
I've heard it.
emotional, right?
I've heard it. I'm
So-
not sure I buy it, but I mean, I can see some sort of a mechanism behind it.
All I'm saying is I'm not trying to blame women for this. I'm just saying that it comes down very often. We hear men blame women for not being traditional, for not being the women that they want. But at the same time, bro, as a guy, if you're married, you took a decision, you took the choice, you took the decision to be with that woman and that woman alone. Are you ever going to be tempted again? Of course you will. There's beautiful women everywhere. Of course you're going to be tempted, but there's
Just got a
massive
pillow
difference.
coming in, pillow incoming behind your head as we speak. Bullshit.
Yeah,
Dodging pillows and sandals from your wife sitting there in the corner.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yes, no, I agree with you completely. I mean, I don't see any value in blaming men or women in this sort of debate. I think the problem is just the culture, and I think that's where the if you want to add blame, I think that's where it goes. Jason, porn viewers monolith. For some people, it's their escapism allows them to do their day job like a mammal. I agree. I mean, I even said specifically, I don't think porn should be outlawed or banned or anything. It's more just my personal opinion that I see it as. I see the harms of it in a way that I never did before. I guess we'll put it that way, and that's sort of the angle I'm taking. Certainly, as a father of a young man. But yeah, I don't think it should be banned. I wouldn't be opposed to making it not quite so accessible on the internet. Maybe remember like back in the old days, you had to have like it was paid sites, or now it's just, are you over 18? Yes. Okay. I mean, not
in Alabama right now, like in southern states, there's a lot of the states that banned it. You need to prove that you're 18, and just saying yes, I'm 18 is not enough.
With a sort of a ID. Yeah, I mean, I like that idea.
Listen, I just know that they do because I follow this type of stuff. I find it very interesting. I don't know what the actual requirement is. All I know is that they were passing legislation in order to make it more difficult to get access to. It's one of those things that I don't like banning stuff. It bothers me because this to me is censorship.
Yeah.
Now there's things like pedophilia or kids that is a no fucking brainer. That type of shit should just be, this is just morally wrong, just wrong. But when it comes to porn, I don't know. I don't know what the mechanism should be in order to make it better. The only thing that it always comes down to, and I believe that this is where Penny's going to go with this, is that the responsibility starts at home. And Heidi Chance, the girl, the ex detective for Phoenix Police Department, which she was on the street trying to catch predators. That's what she said during our podcast too. The responsibility, like the first line of defense is the parents at home. But we need to take that back, right? We need to stop asking teachers for that to be responsible for that
it
shit.
isn't their job.
We need to it's not the job of the government to do that. It's not the job of the school. It's not the job of their teachers. It's your job as a parent. If you want to have kids, you need to teach them better, and it falls on you. It's your fucking responsibility, and I'm pretty sure that's where she's going to go with this.
Mm-hmm.
Changing our culture and we won an election, but as one of our colleagues in the movement once said to me about 20 years ago, he said, the fight only begins.
That's right.
You win an election, and then the fight, that's when the real fight begins, because that's when you have to start getting things done. What, as kind of in our last few minutes here, though, from we're talking about these concepts, and I have a 15-year-old son, and I spend a lot of time with him. That's one of my biggest responsibilities is make sure he comes out right. And I know you feel the same way about yours and your kids. And what can we do? What can we send these folks home with that they can do, though, to help get this broader cultural shift that we're talking about
today?
Can I
just add on to that, because you touched on something very important, and that's parents being good parents. It is your top responsibility. It's the most important job I have. And so and parents, it's a difficult world we live in. Utah just passed a bill saying that parents have the right, should be the people that allow children to download apps. Right now, kids can download anything without parental notification. We need to actually help parents have the tools to be better parents, to be able to protect their kids from bad media, from pornography, from all the things that are toxic, that hurt them, and be able to give them a loving, faithful home, and recognizing that, we as a nation are people of faith, and we need to return.
So, I agreed with her until about the end. I don't agree that the government should give you the tool. The tools already exist. There's something called Net Nanny that's been around for fucking 30 years. Since the internet has been invented, that shit has been there. And it's very easy for parents to download apps. Let's be real here. If you have a teenager, you bought the fucking cell phone, you're paying for it every month. I know families down here in Alabama that they're homeschooled and they don't have cell phones. One of the sons is 15 years old. He just got a phone. It's a fucking flip phone. He doesn't have a smartphone, and the only computer that they have is in a shared area in the home that can be supervised. And unlike what everybody thinks, being homeschool has put them ahead of all the kids. And they don't lack the connection with technology. Both of them are into robotics. They literally build fucking robots for fun. This is the type of kid we're talking about. But they're not exposed to all that garbage because their parents have put a massive wall in front of it and said, not for you. You're too young for this shit. Let me teach you what it is to be a man, because both of them are boys. And then you can deal with that responsibility once you're there. But right now, there are ways for the parents to prevent their kids from getting access to porn, getting access to predators. Because that's another thing that Heidi Chance was talking about. A lot of those games that you play that are online, there's a lot of predators that are on there talking to your children. They're using those games to get to your children, and parents are not aware of this. So I don't want the government to get involved in this. Outside of saying these are the programs that exist or this is what you can do, outside of making it information based to say here's a website, if you have questions you can go. I don't want the government to tell me what I can and cannot do. That falls on the parents.
Yeah, exactly. Like the government, growing up as kids, you'd regularly see ads, that are sort of from the government geared towards safety or health. Like, I don't know if you had it in Quebec, but there was one with like little Muppets, and they had the songs like "Don't you put it in your mouth," and it was basically designed to teach kids not to put things in their mouth. Like, it was a commercial that came on TV regularly.
The only song I know is "Just Put It in Your Mouth." It's the complete opposite.
Yeah, that's because you're a misogynist who hates women. It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense now. But but yeah, so I mean, there's a role for government in that. But no, I don't want to see government ban porn. It's and again, it's not it certainly isn't, as Jason had said down there, it does seem like some of these things are specific to American culture that aren't necessarily replicated in other countries where porn is also readily available. So for sure, I don't think porn should be turned into a boogeyman. I guess that was just more me saying like my take on it. My opinion has evolved in it or on it. But yeah, that's that kind of stuff. That's more just, it does start at home. It's got to be family. It's got to be, it's up to the parents. You don't want government. And especially I'm just even talking about kids. I don't think it's harmful to an adult who's got their worldview well established to watch porn here and there. I think that's pretty much fine. I think it's mostly kids, especially young teenage boys who are in a very vulnerable time in their development to be exposed to that kind of stuff just regularly, like, just like a fire hose of porn, I guess is mostly my take on it.
We should get an expert. I've been looking for one. They're not.
I'd be interested to hear it. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of studies on a lot of things that are that are harmful, right? Surely we can find somebody out there who can give us data and not just like kind of I got a gut feeling that it's bad kind of thing.
No. So it's going to have to be somebody that's more conservative, obviously, that don't let their feelings run their decision-making process. But No, it's I've looked for one. They're not that finding a good one is not easy. It's always hard to find somebody that's well spoken, that's used to being in front of a camera to
Yeah.
explain their points. But there is the video that video is done. There was one more. Do you still want us to go there? Is that where we're going? That's all you want to show?
No, I mean we could probably skip it. We've definitely gone a little bit over our time limit today.
I just wanted to show one more thing, but me, it's funny.
Let's
And
show
it
one more
falls
thing.
right into what we're talking about. So
and then I'll end
Yeah.
with a joke, just since it's Friday.
man, it's developing. I just left the trending on X and I just left the page there and it refreshes, right?
Yeah.
It has updated. So yesterday I'm just looking for the picture from yesterday. Oh, but Jesus. So yesterday somebody posted that on my feed. Like that just appeared. I don't remember who it was, but that appeared on my feed yesterday.
Yep.
And this is Hooters now.
That's DEI Hooters. The front office is baffled why sales have dropped 900%.
Look at the caption here. Hooters in talks to prepare bankruptcy filing in coming months.
Oh yeah, you know it's coming. You know it's coming. There's
And just so you know, those are dudes.
Yeah,
If you're wondering,
the two,
no, but those are not older women or women that are putting too much makeup. Clearly, those are two dudes. I just want to make sure. That
imagine if you
we
went to
both agree.
Hooters and that's your server, that's your waitress. Like, bro, like this is the entire reason that I came. Can you ask for another one, or is that transphobic? Okay, I mean, at least these look like women. I mean, but yeah, I mean, I don't understand. Like, of all businesses, surely Hooters has to be immune, or apparently not, but surely they should be immune to that, because like that's the entire point of the business model is attractive women, right? Like, if you have a problem with that, what are you even doing operating as a business? I don't understand.
Hooters the way I remember it.
Yeah.
Hooters the way it is now.
Yeah, I've never been to one. But I can't imagine.
You've never been to one?
I've never been to Hooters. No, I mean, I grew up in the East Coast, right? We don't really have a lot of those sorts of like, you know, niche. Is there one in Toronto, or sorry, Montreal?
I've traveled a lot, right? So there's some.
Okay.
It's mostly in the U.S. I don't remember if I've been to one. I think
Yeah,
I
look
might
at
have
that
been
dude.
to one in my life, but yeah, it's developing, right? So the Hooters is trending right now.
Yes.
So I'm really just scrolling down.
I
That's
can't
gonna be
imagine
funny.
a better way to destroy a brand
that's funny.
than to do this.
They gotta count my wings in front of me. Oh Jesus, they're assholes.
Yeah.
But oh, bro, there's the bulge.
Yeah, he's not even hiding it. I mean, it's not even. Yeah, it's a dude, bro. It's just a dude. Like, there's no
Is
getting
it me
around it.
Or her right there? She's like, this is fucking weird. This is
Yeah, I think all of them probably are, but they've all been, I'm sure they're, good young liberals, and they know that they need to keep their mouth shut, and
Hey, bro,
lest they be transphobic.
We've been added to that page. We're on the first page of the trending on the Hooters because of the Hooters in my caption.
Oh, are we? We're on the Hooters page? That's hilarious.
The trending, like Hooters.
Oh.
Hooters is trending,
Yeah,
and we're on the
yeah.
page because I guess we're talking about it right now.
Yes,
But yeah,
yes.
it's I thought it was funny when I saw that yesterday. I'm like,
Well, it's an
company that is
example of
DEI right there, right?
woke mind virus, right? Like it infects people into doing things that are almost like so clearly against their own interests. How does that help Hooters at all? Do you know your customers at all? Do you know your business whatsoever? But fuck around and find out, and they will.
I'm still looking at the picture. I'm like, 3 of those women are actually beautiful women.
Some of
like
them, yeah,
what you
some of them
expect,
are.
what you expected. No, but this one right here, like this is, you go to Hooters, you expect to see girls like her, girls like her, and then you literally have a dude. You can see his balls right there, and you can see the bulge right here.
Oh God! Like if that's my waiter, I'm just like, can you request a different one? What would be the point? What would be the point of going if that's going to be your waiter or waitress? I guess.
Oh, the food's terrible. Obviously, you're not going
Yeah,
there for the
exactly. Nobody
fucking
goes for the
food.
food. It's like going to the strip club for the food, right? You know how you got those perverts sitting in Pervert Alley
Of
there
course,
at the front row,
of course.
getting fucking cheeseburger and fries delivered to them. Like they're not there for the cheeseburger and fries.
You know what I keep on wondering when I'm looking at this? Am I transphobic for asking for another waiter or
Well,
waitress in this
well,
case?
yeah. That would
Obviously.
you be? I mean, everyone's transphobic for the most part. It's kind of a nonsense word used to silence people, but I bet you they would call you that. Yeah.
So Jason's saying I didn't go to a Hooters until I left New York City. Were there dudes there when you went,
Yeah.
or
It
were
was.
they actually women? Did you have women with bulge,
Yeah.
or were
Was it?
they
Did they have the female penis?
actually? Did you have women with 6-inch clitorises?
That fathered children.
That fathered the guy from the other video.
Yeah.
The guy we were just watching.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. That's too funny.
but this is gonna self-correct itself, obviously, if they
Oh yeah,
continue
and
doing
it
that.
started.
It's just
It's happening. It's happening as we speak. And I think more than most, see, usually when like attitudes change in a social issue like that, it takes a little bit of a while. For example, like let's say gay rights, it was a very successful movement, but it took quite a while. And the reason for that is you probably weren't going to convince people who were 50 years old 20 to 30 years ago that it was okay to be gay. You just had to wait for them to get older and die off, and the younger people didn't share those values. So very slowly over time it changes. This one's going to change very fast because no one actually believed it in the first place. Even on the left, I talked to a lot of people on the left, and very few people actually believe it. Everyone knows the difference between men and women. They know that men cannot give birth, and they know that women cannot have penises. They just feel like they can't say that. So once it becomes clear that you can say that, and we're getting very close to that, even on the left, it's gonna be a tsunami. It's gonna be an avalanche, and it's because no one's mind actually needed to be changed. They just needed permission to know that they could speak their actual mind, and it's gonna happen very quickly, I think.
I didn't take the time to research because I thought it was a massive joke. I thought that picture went viral and people are like, "Oh, Hooters is gonna go bankrupt now." No, actually, it turns out that
They're actually
there
going
is.
bankrupt.
Yeah. So it was the other way around. The joke is not that they're going bankrupt. The joke is that we know why.
Yeah,
So it was
sorry.
funny no matter what. No matter what, it was funny.
Now
But
it's
I
even
thought
more
they
funny.
made it's funnier. We've been through this
Yeah.
before, bro.
Oh shit! Sorry, getting corrected on my grammar by a
By a
Francois.
French guy.
Yeah, by
There's
a
nothing
francophone.
like being corrected by a Frenchie. You're
It was
welcome.
so funny doing the reels for Maxime Bernier.
Oh yeah.
There's so many things I had to correct, like jag meat. It was jack meat, or just so many things that were just really funny. I wish I could have left them in. I knew what he was saying, so I had to go in and correct it. But yeah, it was pretty funny. What do you think? Call it a night, or call it a day?
Oh yeah, that was it. Now I'm gonna go make a reel. Now I'm gonna go make a reel with this. I'm gonna make fun of this because this is just too fucking funny.
Yeah, there's a lot
It's
of good
like,
ones today, I think.
oh no, but I sometimes made very satiric videos, and this week I made one. I don't know if you heard, but there's an actual rumor that, okay, hold on. Let me, because you have to be able to laugh about this stuff, but I normally get in trouble. Like I've been making jokes. I've gone in a lot of trouble on social media because people don't like jokes anymore. But I'm gonna go make a joke about this video, similar to the one I made about the Obamas this week. I don't know if you heard the rumor that's going on with them.
Are they getting divorced?
Yeah, did you hear about that?
Just actually, I think it was just from you. I think it was your video. Beyond that, I haven't heard it too much. What?
So I want to show that to the people. This is what you can expect if you go to my Instagram, because I do this dumb shit all the time. But listen to this. Do you guys remember this video? Have you ever seen that video before?
No,
Have you ever seen that video before?
Wait, show me again.
No. Hold on. Oh shit! I don't want to listen to myself talk again. Michelle Obama. You see, I looked for it. Oh yeah, Michelle Obama. It was Ellen DeGeneres. Ellen dancing. Oh boy. So there's a video of her. She's dancing. You got to go for the meme, but there was so many memes about this. It was brilliant. Some of the memes I couldn't find them when I was looking for them.
Yeah,
this week, but like just look. Like this is fucked. Like, do you see that thing moving right there?
Oh shit! I don't know, man. You actually think she's a? I don't know that I buy that. I don't think she's a guy.
But there's pictures of them supposedly. Again, AI makes it so easy to do those things.
Yeah.
But no matter what, I think it's funny. No matter what, I think it's funny. Because if you look at Michelle Obama and Obama, she's more masculine than him. Like you put both of them, like put Obama in a wife beater and put Michelle Obama in a wife beater. She's more jacked than him.
She's definitely
like
jacked.
If there's somebody that's shoving their head in the toilet between the two of them when they're having sex, it's definitely him. Obama's the one receiving. This is what I find is funny. When that happened, I'm like, yeah, he is pretty effeminate compared to her.
That's really funny.
Hi, Jody.
Yeah. Hey, mom.
You have anything else you want to add to this, bro?
No, I think we're good. I think it's Friday. We had a good show. You know, we don't need to do that last bit. It was pretty dark. I think it would end us on a.
Not. We were such on a good mood the whole way through.
Yeah.
Finished with dead babies. Yeah.
Nobody wanted to see that Friday afternoon.
Nope. Well, for all the people that watched us, for the people that are listening to this afterwards, thank you for being here. Thank you for giving us your valuable time. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to follow us on X and YouTube at the Political Orphans. And if you like the lefty on my left, follow him on X at Rob_the_builder. And if you like my beautiful French accent, or you want to make fun of my French accent, like a lot of people do, you can follow me at Real Nico Lagan on every single social media out there. On that note, have a good weekend.
We will see you
next week.
See you
on Monday.
Yeah, that's right.
Monday.
Same time, same channel.
Monday.